We are sitting down with Allie Smith. That's Smith, right?
Yep.
There's so many names in my head right now.
I know, right?
Oh, it's crazy. We're just booking like crazy right now.
That's awesome.
But thank you for sitting down.
My pleasure.
Crazy motorcycle racer. I'm excited to talk about this. What made you get into motorcycle racing?
Motorcycle racing was an
teaching,
anomaly.
like just having a some sort of side pathway with your motorcycle.
I was touring for a while. In fact, I even started a motorcycle tour business, which I call my brilliant failure.
Really?
Oh God, yeah.
What was that about? You just take people on trips with the...
That was the plan.
Yeah?
Yeah. I went through the self-employment program, which I later ended up coaching for and absolutely loved. It was probably one of my favorite jobs ever.
Oh.
But I'd been touring. I'd been going, taking my SB 650 and going around all over BC and on down to like Mount St. Helens and Cannon Beach, and just the Pacific Northwest is perfect.
Such good roads. Perfect. My aunt and uncle, they take their bikes all over, and they're just always ripping down to Oregon on the coast, and just looks like beautiful riding.
It is, and that was. But I probably had no idea who your aunt and uncle in terms of the customer was, and it was a grand experience because I learned and made a ton of mistakes, and I really fell flat on my face with that one. But I did my first track day around the same time, and it was funny because I did my first track day, and it was like, this is my tribe. These are my people. I want to be with these people. And so that's how I got into track riding. Yeah. And then going on track days. You've probably seen the zombie bus around town.
Yeah. Okay. Is that you?
No, that's not me. That's my friend Scotty. He's the owner of Adrenaline Motorcycle. Okay. So he converted the bus. And
I just saw that thing downtown today. I think I saw it wheeling around.
He's everywhere.
That's like a pub crawl, right?
No. Although we've done that for SantaCon one.
That's one. Okay.
Yeah. Thanks, Scotty, for that. I still remember. Finally. We used to take trips down. We'd pack 10 people, 8 bikes, go down to the ridge down in Shelton, Washington, and have a rip-roaring time. And it was just like a group of people, and I went on, I think, probably all but one trip.
Oh, wow.
And we went down to Oregon, down to ORP, which is Grass Valley, Oregon, which is in the middle of nowhere. And you have to be life flighted out of there.
What?
It's super great.
Oh my God.
But it was so much fun. And so that's how I really got into this whole, like, I want to be better on the bike. Because I'm just a natural learner. I love getting better at whatever I put my mind to. So it's, so then I wanted to coach, and I knew I wanted to instruct. And so I kind of picked some brains of some of the track day providers, and then got into coaching. That's always been my favorite thing. So I taught swimming. I've coached business.
You're just like a natural teacher.
Yeah, I love doing this kind of stuff. I'm teaching. Yeah, I just love it. Harder with my son, of course. But
yeah.
I made sure to send him to another swimming instructor.
Yeah, always. Yeah.
But
there's like a certain age where it becomes too much of a vested interest, right? You got to be like, okay.
I think there's always a vested interest.
I don't have an issue with people coaching their kids at a young age because it's still fun, as long as they're not those psycho parents that are like, you're my meal ticket. You're going to be a professional soccer player or hockey player.
Or just, living vicariously, or just wanting your child to do so well that you're the one that gets in there. We had to kick a parent out one time coaching swimming.
No way.
Because he was walking along the side yelling at his 11-year-old daughter, yelling at her. And I'm the loud one, but I'm not. Anyway, the head coach went over, and he's the quiet one. And he said, you need to leave now.
Get out of here. Jesus. Well, when the quiet ones come up to you, that's when it's time to listen. Right?
Absolutely. Yeah. It's so sad I catch myself sometimes doing it because I think it's hard as a parent.
That's like one of my biggest fears if I ever became a parent, was being too invested to not see, lose the trees in the forest, or the forest in the trees there.
I had to, the saying is. The forest through the trees.
Yeah, yeah.
Or I think so.
Right, something like that. Yeah. We don't have internet down here yet. We can't even Google it. That's the shitty thing.
I had to learn something that I really appreciated with other teachers of mine doing, which was letting me figure it out. And especially my parents. I was one of those kids that I had to do it my own way. Mm-hmm. I didn't, no matter what anybody told me, even if I saw one of my siblings doing it and they figured it out and that was the right way, I still had to do it my own way.
Yeah.
And playing piano comes to mind. My sister was brilliant at reading music and playing this awesome music. And I'd just be like, I need to listen to this again, right? So I'd listen to Depeche Mode on like for the 50th time and play Somebody on the piano. But I realized with my own son, that was I've got to step back and let him figure it out. Because if I don't, I'm robbing him of the opportunity to learn it for himself. Yes, and because we're alike,
he learns in a similar way.
Yeah. So it's graceful. It's wonderful to watch. And of course, kids are such sponges, and they're
so fun to watch.
Yeah.
Learn something. I was watching. What is this kid? These Thai kids are playing with sticks. And like just to see them coming up with ideas on what this could be, it was like, oh, this is so cool.
That would have been so cool.
Just to watch that, because especially with the language barrier, when it was a lot of just body, like I didn't know what they were saying, but watching their body language and you can see them figure something out or realize they can put two sticks together and make something different or whatever it was. And I was just like, yeah, it's cool. It was fun to watch kids learn stuff for the first time.
And come up with their own. I mean, they do. My son comes up with his own games all the time.
Yeah,
I'll say, no more screen time. Figure it out. Go to your room.
Yeah,
no. But I work from home sometimes, so he literally will have 2 hours, but he'll have been on the phone for 2 hours after school. So he will go into his room and play with Hot Wheels. Of course, he's got this massive collection of Hot Wheels, and he will set up his hockey cards and Hot Wheels and have this whole thing. And he's like, "Okay, Mom, don't go in my room because I've got all this stuff set up in my own.
Don't touch it.
Yeah. I've got it set up. This is my game." And it's fascinating.
It's crazy, right?
Oh God, yeah, it's just awesome.
Like, when do we lose that? That's when when do we get so corrupted by the world that we lose the ability to just come up with these wacky and weird things? Because other kids don't look at kids and be like, "Well, that idea is dumb." They're like, "Ooh, like what else could we do with that?"
Yeah, what else could we do with that?
But then adults, we just judge, right? We're just like, "Oh, that's dumb." Like, I can come up.
When do we get so
idea.
judgy, right?
Yeah, right. It's like you just get so.
And yet, middle school is awful. It's so judgy. I had no idea. Grade 6, some of the language that was coming out. There was an incident at school, and so I had to go into my son's Instagram, which I typically would never do. But
so they're getting into the social media. Is that evidence now in the old classroom?
Oh well,
because I guess you can't shut it off, right?
They have no phones anymore as of this past year.
Really?
Yeah,
in the school,
his middle school. Yeah.
See, I think that's wrong because they're gonna have them. Why not teach them how to use it properly?
That's a really good point. I agree, but that's not part of their mandate. Is not to teach them how to. I mean, I think that's my responsibility as a parent to help my son to be responsible with his own time. There's an app for that, too,
right? But that's
timing.
what I'm thinking. Like, there's got to be a way to manage it where you could use it as a tool for the good and shut out all the bad, right?
They do have tablets.
Oh, so they okay. As long as they're incorporating, because that was the one thing that pissed me off when I graduated. I was like, you know what? For the longest time, I got told I'm not going to carry a calculator in my pocket, and now I have every answer to any question ever asked, literally at my fingertips at all times, as long as the battery's charged.
That's right, and lucky you, because I had none of that stuff. It's like I took typing. I'm right.
I remember learning cursive, and I was like, even back then, I was like, this is dumb. I'm not going to use this. I'm never going to use this again. I've never once written in cursive in my life except for my signature.
Yeah,
but even that is just a letter and a scribble. I don't even write the words or the letters.
It just doesn't matter anymore.
No.
I like how they're being proactive with them. My son created this video project, which was really cool.
Oh, sweet.
And I was just like, man, it's like I would love to be able to have done that.
Yeah.
Even when I was doing sound design in university, it was like we were using DAT tapes and cassette tapes, and we had an MD player, and I was just like, yes, we have an MD player. And it was trying to mix all that, and now you just do it on the computer, which I think is so awesome. It's so much easier.
It's insane. But then even like the computer programs were so crazy, so in depth. Like even just the free stuff, the stuff that you can just get access to at any time. It's like, oh, look at all this I have at my fingertips. Like, I'm useless. That's why I need producer John here, because if you look at like the first stuff that I put out before he was around, it was just garbage. And I was like, I just need to show people that I can do this, and somebody will come help me out. And sure enough, my saving grace came flying through.
Put it out there in the universe, there it was.
Right, that's what it is. But I can't get over it. And then you look. I remember I was like going to the gym, and this kid's waiting for his mom to finish up in the gym. He's on an iPad, and he was just flicking and flopping, and I was like, oh my God, you are way more efficient with this thing than I will ever be.
I do all my race videos on my phone for the most part. Yeah, like the Instagram post today when I was working out. I've been meaning to do that for so long, and finally I just said, okay, I'm going to see if I can get away with this at the gym, because I always feel bad when I'm in the gym.
Right? It's so awkward. There's something awkward about filming yourself.
Well, you're technically not supposed to do it. Right?
Really? Oh, I guess public place, and yeah.
Yeah. But
It's for the gram, though. That's what you just tell them. It's for the gram.
It's for the gram, right. It's for the gram. Don't pay no attention to the phone in the corner. It's I love it. I love the fact that we have all of this technology at our fingertips. I love the fact that they are integrating that into the schools. I've been watching and listening to some of the podcasts, and we're talking about education. And,
Yeah.
And I think and talking about the failure of education, I thought that was pretty cool. And at the same time, I think that they've changed. They have changed a little bit, maybe not as fast as we would like it to.
It's just like technology changes so quickly, and it takes a while to realize the world doesn't move as fast as technology. You got to wait for everything to catch up and see what's going to stick, right?
See what's going to stick, yeah. And that discovery-based learning, I'd like to see more of that and more entrepreneurial.
Yes.
I mean, that's
just the free thinking, right?
Huge. Critical thinking.
That's a better way of saying
critical thinking. Kids are, they're sponges. So here, my son, we've been talking about, Trudeau liberal government, marijuana legalization that's coming about.
Yep.
It's something that we would never talk about that even 10 years ago.
No, it was still taboo.
Yeah. So that what else? Of course, what's going on south of the border.
Yeah.
Just tons of stuff there. And so I don't want to get into political debate or anything like that. But I have that with my son. When he was 5, we were talking about religion and God.
Yeah.
And he's like, Mom, is there a God? And I said, well, some people believe that.
Yeah.
I said, that's not personally what I believe. I believe that, like the force, there's the universe, and there's just so many things. We're just these little tiny,
just a blip,
organic things on this planet in this huge expanse of a universe. How could we possibly know? We only know this much. That's about as big as we are.
I just was listening to a podcast, and this guy he's a physicist, and he was telling me, like, through his research and everything and what he read, back in like the 19th century, so early 1800s, they thought that they were close to figuring everything out when it came to physics. They're like, nope, we're almost done with physics. And I'm like, the audacity to have that. Like, no, we got it. Don't worry, we're going to figure it all out. All the answers are coming. I was like, holy shit. They were so, and to think, like, we probably think we're at the peak right now. And then in 50, 60 years, they're going to look back and be like, look at what they were doing in 2018, these idiots. They thought they were on the right track.
That's right. They were told, well, what was the Einstein's theory of relativity? Just kind of being not disproven, but different.
Question,
yeah. That was pretty fascinating. You kind of triggered me a little bit in terms of seeing the glass half full. Mm-hmm. Living your life on a day-to-day basis, but seeing the glass as half empty when it comes to learning and education, how much we have yet to go in that sense, because we're just discovering what's in our oceans for the first time, really. And
I think they say like 10% we've only discovered, right?
Yeah.
Yet we want to go colonize Mars. So we don't even know what the hell's going on our own planet. Why are we going to go corrupt?
And there's going to be a space force.
The space force, yeah. Oh my God.
Sorry, it was funny watching Mark Hamill's response to that and just thinking about, he just basically said, well, here we are talking about, and a lot of the responses, I can't remember exactly what Mark Hamill was saying. I was just reading just this massive amount of tweets following up with, well, let's spend billions of dollars, or even $1 trillion into getting a space force up in space, but you have a problem with universal healthcare. Okay.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense to me. I don't get it. I really don't.
Yeah, there's so many things. I think about how, because I grew up in St. Louis.
Really? So do you have dual citizenship?
Thank God I don't have to file taxes down there. But I'm the only one in my immediate family that is not a dual citizen. I chose.
You're strictly Canadian. Love that.
Yeah, I was born in Regina.
You missed out on some serious benefits, but I love that you decided to commit up north. That's awesome.
I couldn't. They wanted me to say that I was American first. And I just couldn't. No. I'm like, I'm both, because I've lived equally in both countries.
But America's got to come number one. We're number one, baby. USA.
We're North Americans, I guess, and I love USA. Yeah. I have a lot of my high school friends like still down there, and of course my family's down there, and I love, there are so many aspects about the states that I love. I would have to say that racing, I'm a nice little Canadian girl. Yeah. But there are times like when I am trying to get a leg up and pass somebody on the track, or if somebody hits me on the track,
I mean, I'm throwing some hands if somebody's hitting me on a motorcycle going that fast. I'm
Yeah,
throwing hands.
Well, I got T-boned in a corner. What? That was interesting. Yeah, I had planned.
How hard is it to set up a T-bone on motorcycles, though? That's got to be a precise hit.
Well, it wasn't so.
Not like a dead on.
It wasn't a dead on, no. But his front wheel hit my front fender.
Oh wow!
So as T-boned as you can get in a corner, and it was a slow corner, thank God, because anything else.
Didn't know how to take the turn or what?
He I think was trying to cash a check that he did not. He ran out of talent.
I like that. He ran out of talent.
He ran out of talent and he hit me. I mean, you were racing the race, right? And I had planned it. I'm like, I'm just going to tail him and see what he does and see where he's at. And then pick out the corners that I think I could pass him. And so in lap 7, I actually didn't think I was going to pass him, but I realized I was out motoring him in the straight. Oops. So I passed him, and I think that irritated him. You know, there's the pigtail envy.
I'm sure that like men can't put their egos aside on, especially on a racetrack, right? Like that's
sometimes.
I'm sure they have the stigma that it's super like, oh, this is a masculine sport. Only men can drive a motorcycle, right? And then they see the braid. You got the braid out the back.
Yeah, I have the braid out the back.
So that thing's just whipping in the wind. Like, no, not a chance, not today. And yeah, for sure, his ego took that grip and just ripped it back.
I don't know. I'm not gonna.
Yeah, we can't speak for allegedly.
I'm the nice Canadian, right? I'm not gonna make that assumption, but
I'll make it for you. This guy got super pissed that a female passed him for sure.
It's I think he probably just, I mean, I definitely can say he was pissed that somebody passed him. Like if it was a guy or girl, the person that was slower than me in his head is passing me now. Yes, I've been behind you the whole race and I have been watching you, and I don't know if you've heard me, but yes, I'm back there, and yes, I just passed you. And so I came off the bike. Obviously I fell, crashed in the corner. And he came over to me and he's like, "Are you okay?" He's like, and I just said, "I'm okay, but I'm going to go over there and I'm going to be really mad for like 5 minutes. And I'm probably going to swear, and you're probably going to see some really un-Canadian things come out of my mouth. And then I'm going to come back over here and I'm going to ask you how you're on. I'm going to ask you how your bike is. But right now I'm really mad. I'm going to go over there." And the corner workers, so they're corner workers.
Good for you, because are you kidding me?
I was so angry.
That's not angry. That is the most polite thing I've ever heard in my life. Like, excuse me, I have to leave because I'm angry at you. I'll be right back. If I had the ability to do that, the amount of relationships I could save in my life, holy shit, I'd have so many more friends.
I don't know how decorum comes into the picture there at all, because I was so fucking pissed off.
No kidding.
And I did. I went over about 10 meters away. That's about 18 feet. No, I have no idea what that is in feet American.
Feet, right? Something like that.
Yeah, something like that. So I was about a pool length away and just and swore and just said, "What the?" And just went off.
Swear. It's all good. We're on the internet. I guess you don't want to swear. That's fair. You're a nice Canadian. Keep the Canadian.
Well, in this particular case, I was the nice Canadian. But the corner workers, so they're corner workers that are set up kind of around the track, and they help with people picking bikes up and things like that, and doing the flags so racers know what's going on. So they were howling just like you were, laughing their asses off. They said, just by you saying all of that stuff made you all the more Canadian.
Yeah, for sure.
And so that was, and it wasn't the first time that I've been hit on the track. I've had a couple of people bump me.
But nothing as I guess blatant's a bad word, but nothing is like obvious, I guess.
Yeah, that was like a full took me and my bike out.
Yeah,
it was interesting. We were still friends.
Oh, there you go. At least you say, yeah, that's good. God, you're such a bigger person than me.
Well, there's a certain amount of respect that you have for people that are talented, and you know that they've got that. Mm-hmm. And you don't want to cause, because everybody has a job or kids or family. Everybody has families and moms and dads and
it's probably got a pretty tight knit community. I'm sure there's not hundreds of thousands of you guys floating around, right?
Not maybe not hundreds of thousands, but yeah, tens of thousands across the world. There
right?
are,
and so your little pockets around the world are probably pretty. I mean, you probably race with the same people. At least a handful of the same people,
in Washington and Oregon. Yeah. And
so
there is a certain amount of respect that you have for people. If you have a shit day
with someone, you're gonna have to see them again, regardless.
Yeah, most of the time. Not to say that it hasn't happened where it has been a shit day and people do not act with decorum And that sucks. That really sucks for us as our relationship with racers, but also as a community, because you're bringing the community down to it. It's like, come on. And that happens in any environment, I bet, too.
For sure, right? Yeah, that's applicable anywhere. Yeah. But like, what's that like getting hit? Was it the slide out where you slide now? Where you're getting shredded up? Like, that's got to be awful getting hit on a bike.
I've gotten down in turn 1 at Portland a couple times, and that's the fastest corner. So you're going in off the straightaway, and you're just coming down, and I don't know. I tape up my speedo because I want to know what it feels like and not how fast I'm going, because it's a mental game. It's a real mental game. You're basically
like, what's the tire width of, and then when you hit a turn, I mean, you're losing. You got what, 3 knuckles width on the track or something like that?
Yeah, if you're leaned over, because that's what you're trying to find is that to be as precise as you can going around a corner. So if I'm going in at 200 something kilometers an hour, because that's how fast my bike goes, is over 200. So I'll go down the straightaway.
4 feet off the ground, just zipping by you.
Well, you're straight up and down at that point. But when you're going in, so you're braking.
Still, I mean, I just mean on a bike, you're not like, it's not, you know, you don't have the cage around you. You got that all that wind. Right. You can see the ground. 200, holy shit.
It's a laser focus though. Like that's where one of the things that we coach is visuals. So where are you looking? Where's your next reference point? When you're going into a corner, you're thinking entering into a corner, you're going fast, but you've got to gear down. You've got to get the brake on, trail brake into the corner, release the brake, get on the gas, and go out of the corner. And all while you're trying to max out your lean angle so that you can get around the corner as quickly as possible. And then, of course, if you've got 20 or 30 or 40 or 50 bikes going into that same corner, because I've been there, you've got to try and find and make your way around that. And it can be interesting to say that, you know, you're all going in at the same time. So do you
focus, when it gets hectic in those corners, like how hard is it to just not worry about everybody else around you and be like, okay, I got to focus on my turn, my goal? Or are you just like, fuck this, like I got to be on high alert at all times?
You're at high alert at all times.
Yeah, you're constantly scanning, constantly looking around.
It's not even scanning. You're peripheral, and I feel bad for any racers that have less peripheral vision or no peripheral vision, because that exists apparently, and it's exhausting. So you only do like 2, maybe 3 races a day. Yeah. Because you are so mentally focused.
How long's a race typically?
Anywhere between I'd say 12 and 15 minutes. Yeah.
12 and 15?
Yeah, sometimes 18 minutes.
So you must be exhausted after that, because the mental and the physical.
You train for it. That's like my working out today. You know, you train for it.
So what do you do?
I do anyways. Some guys don't.
What do you do typically to train for a race then, outside of the physical stuff? Well, what do you do physically to train for a race?
So I'm a little biased because I've been teaching swimming, so I've been teaching aquafit for 20 years.
I watch aquafit every morning at my gym. I went in once and did it, and I was like, this is intense. I can't do it. Like, these old ladies are kicking my ass.
I know what they do, right?
They're just nuts. Just and then music's pumping, and the instructors are always cranked up and all happy. Yeah, I love that.
That's great. Love it. Yeah, I love doing it. It's a lot of fun to get up there and teach.
Zero impact, right? Too. That's a nice little low impact.
Yeah, low and no impact if you're doing deep water for sure. And so that was kind of my gig for the first couple of years, was to do really intense aquafit, because the funny thing is, I took a hiatus from teaching. I was just burnt out and started swimming laps. And then I saw this one guy who was teaching. I was just like, wow, that looks like a really good class. I'm just going to join in one day. Yeah. And I did. And it was so intense. And I was just like, right, I forgot how much exercise this is. So that's when I started to do it again. And then I was kind of, they had an intervention, and they said, so when are you going to come teach? That's why I got into teaching.
You got to come back. You got to come back. We need you.
Yeah, it was fun, and it's been fun. I developed a HIIT training. Basically, it's a CrossFit style WODs.
Oh, that's super cool.
It's so much fun, and the people that have been doing it are so dedicated. Every single week, they have to be there. And,
it's like swimming in general is one of the toughest things as far as physically, for myself at least. It's so tough. I do a couple laps. I hear these old guys who are like, "Oh yeah, I just finished my 40 laps."
Right?
I'm like, are you kidding? Like, I did 5 and I'm exhausted, sir. Like, come on, give me a break. Don't be rubbing this in.
Well, so do you work on short twitch muscles or long?
I've always been an explosive guy. I've always been sprinting, because I've only really been dedicated to hockey. So you get 45 seconds to go as hard as you can, and then 2 minutes to recover. So that's always been it. But recently, I fell in love with running over the last couple of years. But because I'm never taking care of my knees. I'm starting to develop some pain, so I'm learning how to manage. Because I get so excited about stuff, right? So when I go for a run, it's like I'll go fast. I'll do a real fast pace for like 10, 15 minutes, and then I'm like, okay, I'm bored. I'm done. Like,
do you do music while you run?
Sometimes I listen to army cadences, like.
Oh, okay, yeah,
so
yeah.
Just because it keeps me on rhythm. Otherwise, I'll get excited and be like, hey, fuck it, let's just go for 2 minutes hard, and then we'll coast for 10.
That's a great idea.
So I just listen to the cadence or anything. I'll listen to like symphony music, something that's got a constant rhythm that I can stick on.
Go to, yeah.
Otherwise, I'm just so.
That's how that's how my classes are too. I can't stand. There's some classes I'll go to and just be so bored out of my tree.
You just have that one moment in class. You're like, okay, let's do that like over and over and over again.
Yeah.
And then just call it a class.
Just do that song even just because it has the rhythm, and it's something that I've tried to bring in as an instructor trainer of waterfoot instructors. That music's important. You've got to have stuff that's motivational for your class, and if they like those '60s, Beach Boys stuff,
get it in there.
Awesome. Yeah, get it in there.
The mamas and papas going.
If they like, Lil Kim or.
I could only imagine some like 70-year-old ladies just like
beep beep.
Notorious B.I.G. Like, Eunice, settle down. You got to pick the music yesterday.
Little Cypress Hill,
Hey, Tribe Called Quest. Let's get all the classics.
There was one time when I was teaching and I accidentally put the other playlist on.
Oh no.
All of a sudden, they're kids in the shallow
end. Oh
end.
no.
Old ladies in the deep end. I was just like, that's not the one. I'm just going to turn that one. Sorry.
Who put this song on? Who did this?
It's not my iPad. I have no idea what's on here.
Oh, yeah. That's an easy one. That's not mine.
That's really good.
Somebody must have downloaded this.
Right. It's random. Right.
I have a shared
my
computer,
son's.
guys.
No.
Yeah, I have a shared computer.
It's not old enough for me to blame it on him yet.
You can always blame it on the kid. That's like one of the benefits of having a kid.
Oh, I wish I could. Sometimes I think I do more at home. Like, I'll leave a dish in the sink and I'll be like, where did this just get? Why is this not in the dishwasher? And then right, that's my dish. Oops. I'll apologize. And
you gotta die with the lie. Die with the lie.
You
seem way too polite to do that. You'd have to apologize.
Well, your family, but you're crappy to your family, I think, more than anybody.
Way worse.
My parents and I used to, especially me and my dad, used to just fight. And it was never, I shouldn't say that all the time. And my dad's like the most placated, honest, frugal man that I know. And he's, it's more like me, 16-year-old me was sitting there going, for 20 minutes, and he'd be like, yes, Allie, and I realized when we were at the cottage, we were walking up from the boathouse. It was maybe a 5-minute walk, and I'm sitting there blabbing onto him about something or other, and he goes, and not listening at all to what I was saying, and I clued into this, and I was just like, he's been doing this for years. Okay, well, now I know how he stays calm this whole time. But I've started to adopt some of those things that my dad did with my son, and it's worked out amazing because we're not all the time. Well, I mean, we used to be when he started. I guess he turned 12, and that's when things, you just those hormones start going, and you have those moments.
And then add in all the technology that you didn't grow up with, right? The disconnect on that, and that was one thing. My mom never got it because cell phones were so new when I was growing up that was you don't know, right? I'm like, what the hell is the technology going to be when I'm like, hey, how come we're not texting no more? How come you don't text me no more? But it's like, come on, Dad, don't we text anymore?
Right.
Yeah, it's like we just send our emotions, right? It's like, yeah. So I'm like, shit, I'm gonna be disconnected.
I thought I was I'm a technologically inclined person. I used to work for IBM. And there was one day, and I was doing something. I was trying to do something on Instagram. My son was He was helping me, and finally he just goes, "Mom, just give me."
Yeah.
Sits there and it's just like the moment just happened. Yeah. It just happened. I honestly did. I thought I could keep up. Apparently, I can't keep up, and I felt really bad.
I always told myself I'd keep up, and I'm like, I'm 24, and I'm already out of the loop. Like these kids already are crazy.
It is crazy. I think that's some of the. I love kids today. They're calling it Generation Z or Generation Z if you speak American.
Is that what that's after the millennials?
Yeah, after the millennials.
Because I'm in that small pocket that like Generation Y, that it's like 1988 to 1994 or something, right before
Yeah.
the millennials. The guys that grew up halfway without technology and halfway in.
And I'm
We're the blind
a
spot.
little bit older than that, but kind of on the same cusp of I'm not a Gen X, but I'm not a Gen Y, and I don't really identify with Gen X. I do in the way that we're still squished in between these two massive generations.
Yeah, right. The two shithead ones. Then we don't ever get talked about or no benefits coming our ways.
No,
right?
it's like I've given up on buying a house for now, just because I have so many things I want to do with my life, and that's just partly a lifestyle choice.
I think it's more of you're seeing that trend though, where people are like, why do I want to own something for 30 years when I could take the money that would cost to run that and keep that operational and go keep doing stuff?
Well, invest in other things like education or things that are less tangible than a house. And I talked about that with my parents a lot. They're a little bit older than the boomers, but I have aunts and uncles. They're all boomers. And, I've even watched some of the, some of the older people in my life, not relatives, who have millennial kids and enable them. There's not that stepping back and letting your kid figure it out. They're always going in to rescue them. My parents did it with me. And I did say at one point, you're not helping me by doing that. And so there was this kind of back and forth for maybe 5 or 10 years where I was saying it or they'd said, and I think there was the moment that my dad, my cat was really sick and he was old, and I said, well, I don't know. I mean, I need $600 for the operation. I just don't have that right now. I don't have all of it. I'll pay you back. Crying and I was really upset. And it'd been a long time since I'd asked them for money. And my dad said, well, I said, well, what am I going to do? And my dad said, well, I don't know, Allie, but I know you'll figure it out.
There it is.
And that was I'll never forget that moment. That moment switched things for me. It shifted things. And I did. I had $300 in my pocket in 2 days because I went on News Victoria. I sold a bunch of stuff and there was $300.
Yeah.
And so I just needed to get another $300 and I did it. I don't know. I did the same thing last February, but I did it in a more traditional way. I was invited to go be a part of a master panel in Toronto, back in my old alma mater, which is Glendon College, York University, and
York. Hey,
yeah.
York,
oh, nice. That's fun. That's weird.
I've lived all over this country, and my family's massive, so we got relatives and buddies all over this place.
That's awesome. What did you take at York?
I didn't go to York.
Oh,
no, my friends.
Okay.
I graduated high school and I was like, "Fuck this! I am done with the education system. If I need something, I'll Google it."
I give universities credit in that I was a bad student. I wouldn't say terrible, but I failed religion and American history, which I don't regret at all now. In high school,
I showed up to my religion class in high school with the Lighthouse magazine just to set the tone. Like, I don't give a shit about any of this. Here's what is it? Who's the Lighthouse? Is like is it not the Mormons? Who doesn't do the celebration of the holidays?
Witnesses?
The Jehovah's, yeah, that's their little magazine. Yeah, my dad had some Lighthouse magazines lying around from the Jehovah's. So he's like, if you want to set the tone, like, give your teacher this and tell him you just don't give a shit. Sure enough, day one, I was like, fucking, there you go, pal. Like why am I? They forced me to take it. I went to a Catholic school.
Yeah, ditto.
And just solely because they had it was just a good school, and not that I'm my family's not religious at all. And then I was like, I knew that I was coming back to BC to graduate.
Yeah.
And so I was like, this is dumb. You're robbing me of a credit of a different class that I can take that would apply to the BC graduation system because religion's not going to be on my transcript when I go back. Well, no, you're under our house. You're in our rules. And I just made that teacher's life a living hell. I mean, I didn't show up at all, and when I did, I just slept. Remember one time I tried to fake it where I had the book down?
Yeah.
And I did one of these. And he tried to slam the desk or something to get me up. Ended up having to sing a Justin Bieber song a cappella. Because that was right around the time that he started coming out.
Oh, that's funny.
Just to get the passing grade. Because we would butt heads. We went to the principal's office. He's like, I can't fucking deal with this kid. He's like, this guy's just disrupting my class. I was like, I don't want to be here. I was like, I've made it very clear that this is stupid in my eyes. And then the principal was like, you guys got to figure this out. And I was like, I don't ever want to show up again for the last 2 months of class. I was like, and you don't want me there. What do I got to do? He's like, I want you embarrassed in front of the class. I was like, there's going to be a tough pill for you to swallow.
Christian.
Well, I was like, yeah, right? The values are just Well, he would talk shit about other religions. Like it was like we would learn
Yeah.
Buddhism, and he's like, "No, this is a pretty silly religion, but we're gonna have to learn it anywhere it's in the textbook." It's like, okay, sir, time out. You can't say that. You can't say that, bro. Like, you can't talk shit about another religion. They're all rooted in the same thing.
They are, yeah. It's interesting that organized religion does have a lot of the same tenets. There's one common rule, which is the golden rule among all of them. And I'd say that it's not even just in religion. It's generally,
it's just
for
life.
Good people, respect, and you don't have to respect each other, but love one another. There's a book that the mayor actually, I used to work as the ambassador down at, well, not the ambassador. I worked at the front desk. I'd fill in for the ambassador down at City Hall. And
you just got a passport full of
I
love it. You got
story
life
and apparently a job for everything. But
hell yeah.
I actually really enjoyed being the ambassador because I got to talk to people all the time and meet people. And one day the mayor came up to me. She had overheard me talking with one of the people that had just walked in. We having this bit of a philosophical discussion about approaching people, and they were asking me about my aquafit classes, and I said, well, I approach my classes as if I know them already. And as if we're family. And she said there's a book, and I can't remember the name of the title book, so please forgive me, Lisa. But it was about love, approaching people as if you already love them. Ooh. And I thought, wow, that's taking it to the next level. That's taking it to no matter who I meet, even if I disagree with them, even if they were, somebody that is hardcore Catholic Trump supporter, that if I approach them
anti-Trump
love, I'm vehemently anti-Trump, vehemently. And I understand Republicans. I understand, I grew up with that. I grew up with the bipartisan system, so I get all of that. What I don't agree with is the disrespect and unwillingness, like blatant unwillingness to accept anybody else's opinion except for your own. There are lots of politicians out there. You look at Sacha Baron Cohen's This Is America.
Oh my God, I love that.
Like
that one dude who was dropping the N-bomb. Oh my God, like how?
I'm like, I know politicians are puppets sometimes, not to say that they are. There's some really good politicians out there. As well, and that's what that gives me respect for America and respect for Americans and respect for American politicians in general, is because you see these other politicians. Don't just look at the negative, look at the positive stuff that is happening and can happen, because this is crap that's happening right now.
Oh yeah,
this is it does. I've had anxiety about it,
but I think it's almost necessary, right?
Yeah,
I think like to go this far away from what the political system has been down there, it kind of just resets it. It's like, okay, how the hell did we get Donald Trump? We got to restructure some stuff here. I think we got to relook at it.
I think the Russians might know how they got Donald Trump.
For sure. I don't know. I don't know enough about this, like the political system. I don't know anything about that. I just love the shitstorm that he brings every time he opens his mouth or drops a tweet. I love it.
It's so easy. I mean, Jim Jeffries, I've been watching Trevor Noah. It's hilarious. Talk about it. It's easy fodder. I mean, Saturday Night Live has gotten so repopularized all over again because and you don't have to write it. It's right there in front of you.
I heard a quote. It was like, if you're a bad comedian, Trump jokes are going to be the best thing for you. But if you're a good comedian, it's impossible to not talk about it. And it's just like it's a low hanging fruit. But unfortunately, it's all everyone wants to hear right now.
I'd like to hear more philosophical stuff. That's why I've been really enjoying the Trevor Noah stuff, because he does get into the beyond Trump milieu, which I really like, and getting us to think about it. Jim Jeffries does it too. I was just laughing, just unbelievable. His new Netflix show.
I started it a bit, the new one. He's a wild man.
I'll just tell you, you don't necessarily have to go see his show, because I went to go see his show in Victoria. So Jim Jeffries, if you're watching this, I want another
Jim
ticket,
Jeffries is
man.
watching this. We made it. So Jim, I hope you're tuned in, bro.
He's so awesome.
Was he good? Was he good here?
He was really good. Yeah, I mean, there was a kind of an off joke about women, and I was just like, okay, well, that was something where I could get up and leave right now. But like I know he's a comedian, so there have been some off kilter things that I've said in the course of my lifetime. Just kind of putting myself in his shoes as a good Canadian. Yeah. But I love that. I mean, satire is one of my favorite things ever, because
he's a work of satire.
Absolutely. God, I think I grew up with Saturday Night Live, like the early days with Jim, not so much Jim Belushi, but like Chevy Chase.
Yes, you had the golden eras, right?
Gilda Radner. Well, I was a kid when I was watching that, but this is my my dad actually introduced me to Saturday Night Live. Couldn't be more grateful because watching, John, who am I thinking of? The guy before Trevor Noah. I can't believe
John Daly.
Yeah.
John Daly, he's
and
hilarious.
Just unbelievably hilarious. But that kind of commentary, I think, is what helps. That's part of the bridge between these bipartisan that are so separate. I mean, I race with people who are Trump supporters.
Well, but it's so black and white with the two-party system, right? It's like you're either on this team or this team, and there's no compromise. There is no you can't be here. You can't agree with some of their stuff and some of their stuff, and hate or disagree with some of it and disagree with some of it. You can't be on the fence down there.
The same thing here. People vote along party lines, and I think we have a little bit more freedom.
Right? Yeah, we have more, and I think it's the same in Europe, like multiple party systems, and it's less. You get less of that tribal aspect of it. It's not like my team has to win and your team has to lose. It's like, okay, why can't we have some of these people, let's get some voices all over the place.
And that kind of that diversity in the political system, instead of having one party come in, the Republican Party come in and basically sweep away all the Democratic changes that the Democrats come in, they do the same thing back. Right. So it's just back and forth and back and forth. Who's learning anything, and where's progress in that, I guess. And so we have the Green Party now. We have crazy, NDP. Right? We have Liberals, and it is. So we are learning. We obviously are learning to have the Green Party come in and have this new voice.
Mind you, the Green Party started on the island, though, right? Was that a shocker to anybody? The couple seats that they got?
Not to us, I don't think. No, not at all. Good God.
You could see like some new feed, like, what the hell? Like,
cars,
goddamn hippies on the island.
And I get teased about that too. I get teased, call it one of my racer friends. He's from Washington State, right around where my parents live, in Seabuck, Washington. They're in Silverdale. And he calls me a little Canadian hippie, and because I was eating kale and have all these healthy things that I'm eating. I'm just not just because I live on Vancouver Island. I like this. Yeah. Well, funny enough, he started the keto diet this year, and so he's like more keto than I've ever been, and has lost like 30 pounds, I think. Okay. Oh yeah, just craziness.
You do keto?
I have done keto
I have yet to fully commit and get into ketosis because I just love bread and grain. Like an English muffin in the morning will kill me.
Crap load of foods.
Oh, outside of grains for sure, yeah. Well, there's carbs in broccoli, right?
Right.
People forget that. A carb isn't just associated with bread, but people do for some reason.
And I love bread. I went no gluten or at least low gluten as much as I love soy sauce, so I wasn't going to give that up. But no breads, which was really hard for me because I used to love, the Olive Garden bread. That was like...
Oh God, like a Pagliacci's breadstick bowl. Like, oh my God.
Oh my God.
A little bit of marinara. Oh,
that's right. A little olive oil. Drizzle that on. Oh yeah.
Or just some focaccia with the oil and the balsamic.
It is. And sometimes I'll have that because it'll be like,
why not?
If I'm
Life's
gonna
too
go,
short.
Life is too short
to not have a good bread day.
It is too short, and keto has its place, I think, and in a diet. I still try to balance my macros. It's not like I don't struggle with things. I struggle with things. I'm still learning. God, I've got so much to learn, and it's. But that is the life too short thing, and I think that was one of the reasons that I got into racing. I think was my sister passed away. In 2012, and so this was right after that I got into racing.
You got into racing then.
And I think we talk about being angry or sad or depressed or crying and all these things that we feel. It's just emotion, and I think I was trying to deal with so much of that emotion, anxiety, really that I was having at the time, trying to get that out. And so the best way that I knew how to do that was to put it into this laser focus that was racing.
You just did you use it as a tool, or did you use it to block out?
All the time. It wasn't just
channel it all rather than kind of push it to the side and then use that. Well, because that's how I used to cope like that. I'd be like, okay, I can get super laser focused because I know that it'll take my mind off all this stuff. Bullshit.
Yeah. There's no more present moment than when you're racing a motorcycle.
Even just for me, it's just being on a motorcycle because again, like you just remove that cage. For anyone who's never driven a motorcycle or even sat on the back of one or been on a motorcycle, you're so exposed. Like, you're so exposed to everything, especially if you're outside of the track on the roads. It's way worse because you have the cars and you have kids, and most people don't see motorcycles in their rear views. And so I can only imagine going way faster than a speed limit, with everybody else going that fast and having to be dialed in. Because when I ride, I'm not crazy. I can't hit those turns at 60, and I'm not. It's just
but that awareness, I think, when you're out on the street, that's why I stopped riding on the street altogether, was because there was just less, more unexpected things that could happen. What's the risk? And I think we assess that all the time as a racer. We're assessing how much risk is it, and is it worth it?
The risk versus
and you got to be really clear, I think, why you race or why you play hockey. If you're not clear about why you're doing something, then that can start to mess with your decisions. And if you're making split-second decisions like racers do within 0.1 to 0.3 seconds on a constant basis for 10 laps.
Every turn.
then it can mess with your head. I had the last 2 race rounds ago, I was racing against a girl who I was pretty sure she was going to beat me. She's on a 1,000cc bike. Yeah. I'm on a 636. We were coming in. So I got the whole shot. I don't know how I got the whole shot. Her bike, she had some trouble, I guess, with the start. And then my competition for the championship was somewhere in the mix, but I got the whole shot. I'm just like, I have no idea how I'm ahead right now, but okay. And just went for it. And then I could hear her behind me. And at some point she passed me and then went into turn 2 and got stuck behind. She just parked it. And well, when you're looking at it visually from behind, I just saw her get bogged up behind another lapped rider. And I was just like, well, I don't know why she's not going, but there's a space there. And I just went right through. So I passed her again, and I knew that she was going to be right on me. Yeah. So I was going, but you're at, I think we're lap 6 at that point. So you're starting to get really, really tired. And as we're coming around, there's a little snaky thing, and you can't see the track, I'm sorry. But we got on the back straightaway, and I could hear her coming up on me. And we're coming up to turn 5, which I've crashed in, ironically, on my first track day. So it wasn't really messing with my head in that way, but within a very short period of time, I made the decision. I could have taken that corner, but my decision was, it's not worth it for me.
Yeah.
It's not worth it for me to risk my life and her life by taking that corner just to try to win. And in retrospect, after the race was over, I'm like, she would have passed me in the front straight anyway. So yay, it was the right decision.
Made the right choice.
I made the right choice. Because it's, and I think that's something that I brought from racing. There's so many things from racing that I brought into my own life in order to make it as precise and as organized and decision making. The decision
I'm sure
making.
Your decision making's got to be way more clear.
And forced me. Well, I shouldn't say forced me. It's encouraged me to be more precise about why I'm doing things.
You find you're less indecisive now with decisions? Like you are able to be more just like, okay, no, that's the one we're going with?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I'll go in.
It's like, I'm always just like,
I still do it.
Yeah.
I still do it.
Everyone will.
And then I'll pick that other thing and I'll be like, it will just feel wrong.
Yeah.
It'll feel wrong.
It's like, I was at a restaurant this morning for breakfast, and I was like, I picked my breakfast. I was like, I should have went with that other one. I was like, God damn it.
Because that was your first inclination.
No, I went with my first choice.
Okay.
But there was just, because breakfast is so open. There's so much to do with breakfast. You can have a sweet, chocolate
breakfast
chip pancakes.
Is the best meal of the day.
I could have it all 3 meals if I really had to. I could eat breakfast all 3.
You're adulting now, so you can do that.
Yeah. No, that's how I have a dog, because I realized for the longest time, I'd always ask my mom, can I get a dog? Can I get a dog? And then someone was like, you moved out and you're 24, right? You can get a dog. I was like, shit, I can get a dog. Because I would still ask my mom, can I get a dog? She's like, no, but I don't care. You don't live here. It's like, yeah, you're right.
You can be taking care of the dog.
Yeah, I buy Lucky Charms still. I ate Oreos for dinner one time. I was like, yeah, this is what I wanted to do as a kid. Why not?
I know. I still do that. Where I'm training, but I want to have a brownie or
go get a brownie.
It's not. I do know some people that are so committed that they literally are, and they won't have one drink, they won't have one piece of bread.
And I can respect that.
I absolutely
I don't understand it.
Yeah,
what the hell are you doing? This stuff is delicious. Get in on this team.
Yeah, and I guess that's something I'm trying so hard to help my son understand that this is not a treat for your body. This is actually hurting your body, like sugar. I mean, specifically.
Sugar's terrible.
But
it's so good.
But it's so good, and that's why I kind of like. Okay, well, chocolate's okay, right? dark chocolate.
Yeah, the dark chocolate. Google told me dark chocolate's good for keto, so I'm gonna crush 4 of these dark chocolate bars.
If you're really committed, you can just get a spoonful of cacao one for the. This tastes great. Really.
Just slap it on top of some avocado.
I discovered what was it? Miso on toast.
Really?
So good. Yeah, because I had to take. So I don't take pharmaceuticals. I spent a lot of time after my son was born. So my whole life I've been depressed. I think at least mild depression for sure, and then later on, I think in my late teens and early 20s, more moderate depression, and started taking SSRIs around that time. And then when my son was when I was pregnant, obviously I wasn't. Well, I shouldn't say obviously. Some people take them, and I find that the pharmaceuticals do have their place. Mm-hmm. But in my case, I didn't want to take any drugs, so I had a natural pregnancy, childbirth, and
you did a natural birth too.
Yeah, which I wasn't expecting.
Scale of 1 to 10 for pain, just quick.
I can't even answer that because
There's
it's not
comparable.
It's not pain.
No, really.
Well, okay, so
there's pain, but it's
different,
associated differently.
And maybe this has something to do with the way that men and women approach pain too. It's not like your bee sting. It's not like your sore muscles. I grew up with my mom having 2 home births, and my sister ended up growing up to be a midwife. So I've had this huge home birth, but I'm adopted. So that my parents had 3 birth children of their own after I was born. I guess the pressure was off. And so it happens so often.
It works.
It does work.
Crazy.
Yeah,
crazy.
they do. Yeah, and
it's like a mental battle for them.
I guess they were 28 when I was adopted. Yeah,
it's crazy.
So I met my birth family when I was 22, and they were integrated into my life at that point. Not all people do that.
Yeah.
Every situation is so different. In my case, we get along stupendously well, and my half sister was my birth partner from my son's delivery.
Very
so
cool.
I knew going into the birth that my birth mom had had 3 cesareans, and that I was likely, there's a good possibility that I would have a cesarean. Now, I did everything in my power. I did acupuncture, I did chiro, I did all the classes. I did all the classes, all the things. And then the morning I woke up with it was just like, contraction, I guess. But I didn't look at it because, Braxton Hicks, and you don't know if it's going to happen. And
yeah, I'm sure it's.
So I was just like,
super
fuck,
confusing.
I have to pee.
Yeah.
So I get up and hobble to the bathroom, go pee, go back to bed for like an hour, and then, have another one, get up, go to the bathroom. Fuck, I have to pee. So the 3rd time it happened, it was just like, fuck, I have to pee. And it's such an ordeal to get out of bed when you're 9 months pregnant, just trying to shove yourself out of the bed. And my roommate was up. She worked at the Mocha House. Yeah. She's the manager of the Mocha House. And just love her to pieces. And she was up getting ready for work. And I said, do you mind if I go pee? And she's like, no, of course not. And I said, I think today's the day. She goes, oh, no, you're just talking yourself into it. Because on the Friday before, I did actually, not to be crass here, but lost the mucus plug, just to be medical about it. And called. It was the first time I've ever had to call my midwife. She asked me, do you think you're going to have it today? And I said, no. She says, well, you're not. Okay.
Thanks.
And that was the end of the conversation. Literally. It was just, yeah, that was it. So by Monday morning, though, he wasn't waiting. So that was she went off to work. I went, sorry, I laughed just because my sister was, anyway, I drove myself over to my sister's house.
Crank that seat way back. Woo! Let's go, little boy.
Well, I called her and she's half asleep, and she's like, oh, I'll grab a cab. I'm like, no, I'll drive. The contractions are about 10 minutes apart. It'll be fine. She lived like 5 minutes away. She's like, well, what happens
if
if
6 minutes away?
That's right. It'll be great. Worst place to have a contraction ever is in the car.
I'm sure.
But that was on the way back because I basically got to her house and I started having a contraction. And you're the keys like this. Yeah. She was awesome. She was awesome. Cody was born 7:38 in the morning. He was born, and he did not take long. Yeah, it was. And so that when you say pain, when my sister was over, we were just breathing through them, and like spiritual midwifery calls them rushes, and I love that. Like, you know, back from my rave days, it's like there's different kind of rush, but there was just this. It's just like this empowering rush that you have of you've just grown this human,
like just fucking euphoric about the whole ordeal, right?
And it is the most intense feeling that I've ever had in my life, for sure.
I'm sure hormones are just flying through your pregnant body, right?
Yeah.
Just trying to figure it all out themselves. Like, what the hell is going on?
And that active labor is hard. So I think the women that go through the active labor for a really long time, it is tough.
Like, oh yeah, it took 48 hours. I'm like, what the hell did you do for 48 hours? Turn the TV on, man.
I don't know how they stand it. It's different every time. And this is my midwife said the next day, or I guess she was doing her 2-week checkup, and there was a woman the next day. She's like, she did everything that you did, Allison. She, you know, she's fit. She did all the, you know, the chiro, the acupuncture, all the classes, all the things. And yet she ended up having a cesarean because her labor was like 72 hours and they had to call it. So you don't, but if you can take what you can and have control over and not have a lot of people in the room and have it be an intimate, you know, don't have grandma and Uncle Frank and, you know, the 2-year-old kid. You just don't, you know, have that. And every birth experience is different. So do what animals do what they're comfortable doing. So do what you're comfortable with. That means going to the hospital, go to the hospital. If you want to have it at home, have it at home. But let's have options.
Yeah, and definitely have a plan of action in case something screws up, right?
Yeah, and I was ready. And I even told my midwife, I said, just so that you're aware, before you take me to the hospital, I'm going to go outside and, you know, and I'm going to do that just so that you're aware. And she just goes, I know nothing. And we did talk about it at some point, you know, is that harmful for the baby? And because of the placenta, apparently it isn't. But I'm really excited about marijuana being legalized. Well, I mean, they've got the pharmaceutical stuff. Yeah, really excited.
I'm more excited. I think I'm more excited about hemp being brought back now.
So cool. Yeah, I didn't even think about that.
Well, because the first fenders of the Ford Model T were made of hemp.
I did not know that.
It is one of the most efficient building materials we can use, and it's been scheduled in the States. I don't know the legality of it up here, but in the States, it's completely you can't grow hemp to use it as a production.
No, because of all the marijuana laws that they brought in.
Well, and it all stemmed from the cotton gin, right? It's the cotton gin owners back in the day. They didn't want to switch their cotton gins to hemp. They didn't want to have to manufacture hemp, so they made marijuana this bad guy thing. And said that the blacks and the Mexicans were raping people because of this crazy tobacco. Because marijuana translates roughly to like wild tobacco in Mexican. That's what the word translates.
Funny.
And so, I can't remember the guy's name. One guy, Rogan talks about him all the time.
I vaguely have heard this story before.
Yeah, and so this guy, essentially, he's a propagandist of saying marijuana's bad and all it's going to make everyone start raping people and killing and pillaging and all because he didn't.
And all the hippies are sitting there laughing their asses off.
Yeah, right.
You got to be kidding me, man, right?
Well, we look back now and it's like this guy was like out to lunch. Like, look at marijuana doesn't hurt anybody as far as we know right now.
Yeah.
And then, but look how far it set us back because of that. Like, all the things that we've been missing out on.
We're doing the same thing with some things though too in terms of.
But what are we like? What do we look at that's bad that really could be good?
Home birth comes. I mean, just because we were just talking about it, but
yeah.
I just think it's an option. It's an option. I think we need to be educated and aware about it, and just give women that option. Not all states and
shut
provinces.
The door on it, right?
Yeah, not shut the door on it.
That's I'm slowly developing that philosophy. Like, you don't have to say yes to it, but don't keep the door open. Have that ability to be able to discuss and open
well,
your
and
mind
homeopathic stuff too. And I'm glad we're seeing wellness centers now that have a combination of everybody from medical doctors to homeopaths to dentists, and you've got the medical community. I hope that it continues where they do talk to each other more.
Well, it's funny. We just had I had John Kane from his Kane Rehab.
Yeah.
And he's telling me that the new philosophy with medicine is mental health driven, which is really cool. So he was saying like some of his patients he won't even treat them because if they have serious mental health issues because they can't get the physical benefits because there's something blocking them mentally. But the one thing that really threw me off is he said there is no communication in the healthcare industry right now. There's no open source that you can go and see your medical records as the chiropractor, as the physical therapist, as the doctor, the dentist. And I was like, holy shit, how does that not exist in 2018? Like, we can talk to each other face to face on a cell phone, like, but you can't access my medical records without this huge security process. We haven't figured a way to dumb this down and make it
or at least
easier.
having the information available, general information available to, and there has been, I know a guy that was working on that. I'm not sure where that's at right now.
Hopefully he's still going because somebody's got to make this. Like, it's got to happen.
We have so many benefits that can be shared, and I think I always thought the boomers would change the medical system, and I think to a certain extent they're starting to, but it's more of a reactionary thing where, well, I can't get an MRI or I can't get a knee replacement for 18 months, so it's not that long, but you know what I mean? It takes
huge,
a long time,
though, right? That was my case with my shoulder. I lucked out when I had shoulder surgery. I got in last minute, but I was going to wait 2 years. And that set back my hockey career because at the time I was 17 in the prime, and I had to skip my 17-year-old year, which is a big it's a big recruitment year because I had to get surgery and because I couldn't set it up to a point where I could come back in the same year because I was on the waiting list, and it's like
that's brutal. That's brutal for an athlete to have to go through that.
But at the same time, the surgery was all free, or at least through the healthcare system and all that. So it's like, the give and take there, but why? Why is it,
I think it's going to be the millennials. I mean, you got to give them credit for something. So that was something that I learned at that conference at York was at the master panel, here are these 4 other panelists who are all millennials.
Yeah.
And I have to say, I went into it going, this will be interesting. Yeah, right. Here, I'm the squish generation, so, fuck you both. And
thanks, assholes.
Yeah, I've basically had to make my own way anyway, which has made me a stronger person. So thank you for that. I'm going to be a nice Canadian, grateful.
So positive. But You're so positive about everything. I love it.
They really surprised me because they are go-getters. One of them, and please forgive me, I can't remember his name, but he created this software because his grandmother, I think, went in for emergency surgery. She couldn't speak the language, so she couldn't.
I've heard of this guy. I've never been able to recall the name, but I heard the story.
That was just so phenomenal. So he created the software where it used icons to describe body parts and what hurts, what's the pain level, which is just phenomenal. And another one of the panelists was a French immersion teacher at the Toronto French School, and but a go-getter. He was just his enthusiasm for what he did teaching. And he was only 24. I was like, wow, this is awesome. And I've met so many millennials since then because I've been able to keep an eye. Now my awareness is out there about who they are and what they are all about. And you still have these like, I don't know what I'm going to do, millennials. Like, I don't know how to do stuff. Figure it out. Just go out and figure it out.
That's the one thing that bugs me is they don't realize that how much, like, they don't realize what they have grown up with, that their reality is. They just think that this is growing up. It's like, no. Like, take it back 15 years. This shit didn't exist. This didn't exist. Like a cell phone, you could say that word, people go, you can afford a cell phone? Like, holy shit, you have a cell phone? It's like, yeah, that's like, these stuff was not here.
Everything online. You can learn I'm like, back in my day, we didn't have any of those fancy softwares.
I had a dial-up computer. Like, for the longest time, we had dial-up. I remember my mom, get the fuck off the computer! I'm trying to make a phone call! Like, remember that?
That was my house that I grew up in. Yeah.
God, yeah.
Oh my God. And we loved that. We loved that network to begin with. And we love that. But nowadays, that's how I learned how to do Excel. Was I was going through an Excel thing that I had to do for work. and say, okay, I have to change the cell. How do I add this? And then I went on YouTube and I'm following the video along.
Yeah.
This is awesome.
Oh,
How
yeah.
did I not discover this before? Right now, I've been kind of poo-pooing Excel and I've been poo-pooing whole jobs because they included Excel.
Yeah.
And it's been right here the whole time. Awesome.
Oh,
I love how
no.
Gary
Oh,
Vaynerchuk,
man, I love him.
he's just like, go do it. Go do it. Take action. Go do it.
I laugh though because he's he's like he's like, fucking, I just give this shit out for free because I know no one's they'll listen to it, but they're never gonna implement it.
Yeah.
And it's like, in a way, you're kind of greasy because you know that no one's gonna take this. And I love his videos. People come up like, man, I saw your video last year, and like, I'm out there grinding. And I'm like,
I'm so
but why the
pumped.
hell are you
Yeah.
at the conference if you're still grinding? Like, you should know, you can still follow along, but.
But
Yeah, he's
do
got
it.
a loyal. He's
Take
got a
action.
loyal following. But yeah,
Very
I
loyal.
love
It's
that idea.
huge, too.
Just go do something.
You have to do it. I talk about something called creating workability, which I learned from the Landmark Forum, and it's literally making a phone call, writing an email, doing something in the direction that you're going.
Start the momentum.
So get clear about what your goal is and why. Why are you doing this? And I had to think about that when it came to racing. Like, why am I doing
Why am I
this?
strapping myself to this rocket?
And there are a lot of reasons that I do it. Once you're clear on that, then start to amass some research, start to figure out who your people are, who are the experts in the field, and start to reach out and start to take action. The biggest thing is taking action. If you are so afraid to fail, and I'm afraid to fail all the time, like I'm starting a new business in the next 12 weeks, I am freaking the fuck out because I'm terrified. I'm just
It's a
like,
massive leap.
well, and I've done this a few times now where I've started, I started the Aquafit business and had the brilliant failure of a motorcycle tour business. So I've learned some of those lessons. And I feel really probably as prepared as I could be for starting a business, and way more prepared than a lot of people out there that just go out and I'm just like, and that's what I've been saying to my business coaches. If that 28-year-old is sitting there making 6 figures on the same thing that I can do, I can totally do that.
Right? That's how I love, because my biggest pet peeve with the older generations is, well, you got to earn your way. You got to earn your way. And I'm like, yeah, okay, the kid on YouTube who just vlogs all day didn't earn shit, but he's making a lot more money than I am. It's like, so fuck you with this earn your way ideology. That's gone. It doesn't exist anymore, because you can go viral like that for something, just a casual post. Like, you can have a 9-to-5 job and go viral and then make 6 figures literally just selling out your whole.
What is that? Is that even your goal? Is that your goal to be viral?
No, but it can happen.
Yeah.
Right? So it's like, you don't have to earn anything anymore, because it can just happen to you. With the power of the internet, it's just shrunken the world. Like, sure, you got to earn your way in your. You got to earn your way into your fields, right? You got to earn the steps up and the respect.
Earn your respect,
of the peers, for sure. But as far as monetary value, you don't have to earn anything anymore, because anything can happen.
Well, and is that your goal?
Right? Yeah, I don't chase money at all. I mean, I've been very privileged with my upbringing, but so I've experienced a lot of shit that a lot of people don't get to and haven't, and I realize I don't want this. Like, this is not the happiest people in my life are the ones that have done nothing as far as like with money. Like, they've never had that crazy amounts of money to just go achieve or accomplish stuff.
The
they're
happiest,
like,
I
they're
love
just like,
how you pointed that out.
Yeah, 3 times a year and just sit by the campfires. Great. I'm like, you love it. Like, that's your passion.
That's their thing.
And
that's
then
their why.
I know wealthy people that spend hundreds of thousands just on plane tickets, and they're like, yeah, I gotta go to Dubai this weekend, and it's gonna be just, we're going to this sweet party. And I'm like, you're just chasing validation, it seems. Are you happy?
I love how you pointed that out too. Yeah, chasing validation. I think a lot of us do chase validation with, like with social media. That's the obvious one. But that lifestyle, it's like you're chasing validation for what? Why do you care so much about what other people think? I think it's a lot of lack of self-worth,
right? A lot of people just don't realize how valuable they are.
Yeah. How much do you really know yourself, and how scared are you of yourself and of getting to know yourself? Because I was terrified. I've had to go through that the last 5 years after my sister died, because there was the before Janice and after Janice me, and the before Janice me, I think was really terrified of getting to know who I was, because when you're adopted, especially when you grow up with a family of birth kids that are carbon copies of my parents.
Yeah.
And I knew I was different. And I knew that I had these likes and dislikes and passions and abilities that were different than they had. And I recognized it double over when my son was born, and seeing all of these things that he just naturally had and he gets from me. And so he could just pick it up on it because he's living around it. And so it's easier to recognize that, whereas I didn't grow up in that environment. So when I met my birth family, that was my huge reward, was seeing gestures, phrases,
picking it up, right?
ways. Yeah. And my half sister and I are so much alike. And even my half brother and I, and my birth mom and I, it's fascinating. It was fascinating going through that process of.
It's really cool. Well, I had a falling out with my dad, so I'm just starting to, for the first time in a decade, I'm starting to talk to him again. And ever since I was, I don't know, 12, 13, I've always thought I was my mother's son. I just had my dad's looks and kind of quirks. But after getting to know him now a little bit more and hearing, because I never knew about his growing up and anything like that. And it's like, oh shit, no, I'm more you. And he's an asshole. He's a prick. And so am I. Like, I'm just a cocky.
Yeah, my birth father was not a good man.
Yeah. And I'm like, fuck. Like, I'm going to be you. Okay. Now that I recognize it, we can take the steps to avoid getting the shitty traits of working on those and working with the negatives to become positives. But it took, like, the realization that I was him, because I wanted to be my mom, because in my eyes, she's a saint. I'm like, oh, I got this trait from you and this trait from you. And then I hear my dad talking, I'm like, no, that sounds like me. No, that sounds like me. I was like,
damn it.
Yeah.
It's unavoidable.
But to me, it was so liberating to realize, like, okay, I was in the dark and I was in denial. Like, no, you are a bit of a shithead. You're a bit of an asshole, but that's okay. Like,
you're accepting yourself where you're at.
Oh, yeah.
And maybe accepting, at least I know when I was kind of reconnecting with because my family blew apart after my sister passed away, and my dad and I had that, butt heads relationship, and even sometimes with my brothers, and occasionally, very rarely with my sister, but getting to know them all over again and accepting them where they're at for who they are, not judging them for it. And that was something that before I didn't realize how much I was judging them, because I was always the one that felt judged. I said, fuck, they're just not letting me be who I am and live the kind of life that I want to live. What the hell, man? I'm trying to be the creative artist, entrepreneurial spirit, and that's just not like them. My dad's the professor. He's a straight and narrow guy. He and I can come together now because we accept each other for where they're at. So here's this huge, horrible tragedy that happened because my sister died from suicide. So the realization that I'm not a part of I really felt cut off at that point from my family. And that was, I think all of us were just cut off from each other. Some families bond closer, some families blew apart. Mine blew apart. It allowed us to see the others, at least allowed me to see everybody else in my family for who they are, warts and wonderfuls and all. It was the most awesome. It's still the most awesome process. I'm still learning things. And in that, I was better able to look into me and see who I really am as a person and what I need to work on and what I need to just accept. And also the really cool, wonderful things because that was the other thing, was that I had a huge self-esteem. I still have self-esteem issues, right?
Even the confident people still have self-esteem issues, right?
Yeah, I know. For anybody watching, just like, I'm still so not. I might seem confident, but I'm really, I would say, I'd like to think humble, but I feel very insecure. It's like going to the new coaching business is terrifying, because I do look at my competition. That's part of the job. You look at who your competition's going to be, and I think, I don't know if I can live up to that. And people say things, when I'm teaching Aquafit, my class would come out, that was such an awesome class, Allison. We love you. You're so awesome. I just love your energy. Literally those 4 lines over and over and over again. And I can't tell you how many times I've heard that over the course of 20 years, but I still didn't believe it. I still didn't, yeah, I know I have energy. Yeah, I know. Okay. It's awesome. But I never really believed that until I started to recognize it. And then it wasn't such a big deal to just kind of accept it. You just take that and sit with it.
Yeah, I have a tough time accepting compliments and,
Yeah.
like understanding them and accepting them. I always will be like, oh yeah, but no, this is really, it's like they'll be like, oh wow, you're in good shape. It's like, yeah, I'm not though. This is wrong.
Right.
This is wrong. It's like, just take a fucking compliment, man. Like, shut up. Just say thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. For some reason I can't accept compliments. Like I have a tough time because I'm always wanting to improve. It's similar to you. Like I love the process of figuring out what's wrong. And like, okay, we had a breakthrough. Like, let's implement this. And the issue is I project my growth. If I'm stagnant in my growth, then I project that onto other people. Like, fuck you. Like, you're not growing at all. And it's like, no, that's just me. Let me deal with my shit.
That's where my judgment comes from.
Yeah.
If I'm judging somebody, and I've started to put this into practice, and I love it so hard. When I'm judging somebody else, it's usually something that
It's always for me. It's always
this is okay. What is it about me that I've been doing lately? That's this thing that I'm doing that with.
Yeah, I'm throwing my shit on you.
Throwing my shit.
I always do it. I'm so bad.
I would have to say it's probably one of the biggest reasons I haven't had a phenomenally successful relationship.
It's tough. It's tough to find someone that will put up with that and grow out of that with you too.
Yeah, they will accept you for where you're at. Mm-hmm. Oh my God.
Yeah, I'm super blessed with my partner. She's awesome. Like she's got her flaws that she's like, oh my God, I'm so sorry about, because she's got bad anxiety. She's like, oh, I shouldn't be projecting this on you. I'm like, I mean, I put my anger on you all the time. Like, you're going to put up with my anger. Yeah, I love putting up with your anxiety then. It's like, you help me grow out of my bullshit, and I'm helping you grow out of yours.
That's what it is.
Right?
About. Yeah, it's like
100%.
You're working with each other to grow out of each other's bullshit. I love that.
That's what it is. But you got, like, one of my favorite quotes is, you got to eat a dick or two in life, right? And it's like, that's just one of life's dicks. Some people are flawed. If you're not perfect, then you're never going to, like, there's no such thing as perfection.
It doesn't exist. No, perfect doesn't exist. And I tell people that all the time when I'm coaching on the track. I say, perfect doesn't exist, so don't try.
Yeah, you're never gonna get it.
And you'll never get there. You'll always be unsatisfied. Do you want to live that way for the rest of your life? It's always being unsatisfied.
Yeah, you're chasing an unchaseable goal, right?
And that's something they've been starting to do in school, is recognizing the effort. Like, look at where you're at. Look at all the answers that you got right, even if it was only 50%.
Yeah, right.
Look at keep going.
Yeah,
you've got a few more. Yeah, you've just got a few more steps to go. I love that learning philosophy, and I hope to see more of that in schools. But let's do that with ourselves as adults too.
Well, I say you got to look in the rear view every once in a while to see where the hell you've come from, because everyone's always focused on, myself included. I get really wrapped up in, like, we are so far away from the goal, and then you just forget to turn around and be like, fuck, we've come a long way.
A long way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even this show, we've only the new podcast only one. This is the second episode technically, but like from where I started, 3-4 months ago to now, it's like we have a full studio space. This is crazy to think.
And just think, by shifting that 2 degrees, how much farther you're going to be 2 years from now.
Well, we just need an air conditioning unit in here, because it gets, like, we got a cold. This is nice. It's actually comfortable today. I've been shutting the podcast down super early because I'm just, like, leaking sweat, and I'm like, oh my God, it's because the sun at about 3 o'clock till sunrise or sunset. This deck above us is just getting pelted with sun.
Oh, so that's a deck. No wonder. Okay,
yeah, and then
God.
This just heats up. So when we set up around like 5 o'clock, we got fans and the doors open. We're just trying to get some airflow. And then we got to shut it all down. And yeah, with John Kane the other day, like, I had like forearm sweat. It was so bad. I was dying.
Forearm sweat.
Yeah. I'm a sweaty guy in general. I run hot, but yeah, I was like, holy, like, we're in for a treat here. I was like, I don't think I can go for much longer than an hour with him. Like, I was leaking like crazy.
Heat will affect you in all sorts of different ways, and it would make you crazy. Really, it's hard to focus.
So tough.
Yeah, when I'm racing in full leathers.
I'm sure. Yeah, you got the full jumpsuit on, right? On a hot day, Christ.
I got a perforated custom suit. So, my motor blew up. To make a long story short, but the bike basically blew up. My old bike. I had a Daytona, and
what?
Finally, the motor
blow up.
Well, the motor did. Yeah,
while you were riding.
Yeah, I've had a few blow ups.
Was it while you were on it riding?
Yeah. Yeah, so I had a 2006 motor. That one blew up, so I got a 2010, put that into the 2006 frame, and stuff and exhaust and everything. And
was that an easy compatible switch?
Nope, it was
didn't
not.
sound like it. I was going to say, you usually can't go backwards like that, can you?
Nope, but it was a really sweet,
wicked bike.
Yeah, yeah, 118 horsepower. Actually, went up to 124 horsepower with that motor. So it was pretty awesome. And that was why I was out powering the guy on the street, and I was like, "Why am I out powering this guy? Oh, the 124 horsepower. That might have something to do with that."
It's that 2010, baby.
It was, the motor blew up 3 times, so I sent it back to the motor builders, and they rebuilt it and but yeah, the 3rd time I was like, I'm a 3-strike.
Yeah, for sure.
And I'm like, 3rd strike, I'm like, I'm done. This is out. And I took it apart with a buddy of mine. Thank God I had his help. And had one of my sponsors who took all the parts and sold them, and I bought a custom race suit, which is like so satisfying.
Yeah, that seems like a really good investment to make.
It was great. Well, perforated suit, because most suits, at least ones for women, there's just not a lot out there. So there are one brand and 2 suits that they had, and neither of them were perforated, I don't think so. And they were both black. So when you think about it, you're in non-perforated suit, black leather. The sun is beating down on you. It's a 32-degree. What it says on the weather, that's not what it is on the pavement. Radiating back at you.
The bike and the suit.
And then doing a cardio workout within that suit for 12 to 15 minutes.
Well, people forget that those bikes are like, what does your bike weigh? Probably 600-700 pounds.
I think 400. Yeah.
Okay, so you got a pretty light bike then.
Yeah.
Yeah, but even that, like, you're shifting that weight as you're turning, as you're driving, like
using the force of the speed of the bike. Yeah.
You're using momentum a lot,
but you're going
too,
back and forth and back and forth.
Still a heavy object that you got to swing around.
If you're doing it right, you're not muscling the bike with your arms.
It's nice.
You got to lock your knee in. Yeah, you lock your knee in onto the tank. You see the grips that the sport bikes will have sometimes.
So they got them right on the tanks, just like some. What, like skateboard deck tape or whatever? What is that? What am I trying to say? Like sandpaper grit, like that?
Some of them are sandpaper grip. Some of them have little
gel.
Okay.
Gel
yeah.
With little knobbies.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and then you can grip with your knee, and you're locked in onto the bike.
Straddling that
and then that way you're nice and loose, and so you can.
Because you counter-steer a lot, right? Which has fucked me up, because I've never been fast enough into a corner where I've had to counter-steer. And I just still never understand. I don't get it.
Don't think about it.
Right, and that's what it is.
Do you ride a bike?
Sorry?
Do you ride a bicycle?
No, no, not really. I mean, I can ride a bike, but I don't ride a bicycle.
Yeah.
Because I don't know. I'd rather drive a car. Get there faster. Although in this,
safety.
I'm an SUV guy too. Yeah, SUV. Not the big trucks. I got the little truck, but I prefer SUVs.
Little trucks are good.
Yeah, I don't like the big ones. I just like, why? You don't need this. You're not hauling shit every day.
No, I was not. I didn't even want a truck. I wanted a trailer, and the truck kind of came up. And I got the truck.
At least it still has a practical use for you. How many weekend warriors bought the Ford F-150 just so they could put a 6-inch lift kit on and 24-inch rims? It's like, bud, why didn't you just get the fucking Corolla? It would have cost you half.
Yeah, half at least. Yeah, that's why I look at just good God, the gas. And I'm already looking at like SUVs to get like the mom SUV.
Hey, go for! I love the soccer mom SUV, like Ford Escape. Yeah, come on, I'll sign that thing off. Come on,
it's so much easier, and I mean I don't think the gas mileage is that much better, but it is.
You can with the new engines, they're great, right?
Well, I've got an 800-pound 4x4. It's just like, good God, I have to carry this around, even though I never, we live on Vancouver Island. I never use it.
Yeah, I know.
I never use I don't go dirt biking, so I don't go up on the trails, and,
I just had a little 4-cylinder, 2-wheel drive, single cab pickup truck, right? I pay $60. That thing will sip on gas for 2 weeks.
Right. And then the scooter guy that comes in, and sits there going, yeah, I just paid $6 for gas.
Oh, I know. Even the motorcyclists, so they're still getting away with it, depending on that.
They do. I kind of miss my street bike for that. When you drive somewhere, and we complain here in Victoria about having to. I have to go all the way to Uptown, or I have to go to Langford for something. And
it's the construction now, though. That's what I'm pitching at. It's like nobody knows how to zipper merge in this city.
No, please, God.
I'm trying to make a
zipper merging is okay. It's okay to let somebody go in front of you.
Well, you're gonna be. It's one car.
It's one guy. Nobody's
car,
good. You're not.
Spot.
If you were racing motorcycles, it might make a difference.
Yeah. If there's a checkered flag at your destination, yeah, don't let them in. But
you're not looking for tenths of a second here.
No.
Yeah, it's. I want to see more responsible driving in the city, I guess, and who knows? Who knows what'll happen?
I just want to see less construction. Like, what the hell, guys? This shit should have been done 10 years ago.
What do they have? A year and a half, I think.
That's
left?
it.
I think a year and a half. Yeah.
Yeah, but then they'll find something else. Well, now we're gonna upgrade this.
I hope not.
Like, why are we building so much shit yet we can't deal with the homeless people that are sitting beside the Uptown Mall there?
That goes. You know, I'm a huge supporter of mental health and fitness. I think they are intertwined. I think that fitness can contribute to so much when it comes to mental health. I know I'm a success story. I was suffering from PTSD and anxiety. So 3 months after my sister died from suicide, my family blew apart. I was working at the bank and I was held up at gunpoint.
Fuck me. So Jesus Christ, Allie. You gotta write a book. And you told me on Instagram you're not interesting? Are you kidding me right now? So she goes, well, I ride motorcycles. It's like, that's fascinating. Really? Well, Christ, that's not the only thing on your book. Holy shit. Sorry, continue along
I'm just a humble Canadian.
Yeah, way too humble. You got some details to go into here.
Well, I'd like to, I'm hoping, I probably will write a book at some point. I've taken a crap load of notes over the course of my lifetime, but it's been hard, right? When you're a single parent, you have a kid, and you want to do all these things, right? Mm-hmm. So it just falls down on the list. Yep. So it's going to happen at some point, but I'm not there yet. Somebody wants to grow straight for me, let me know. The first thought after the guy left, and actually my first thought was after he left was, oh my God, I wonder if I can get a picture of this guy. And I don't remember that part. It's funny that I kind of blocked that part out for a little while. But then in talking with my colleagues, they remind me of that when we talk about it. Don't you remember you went to take a picture? Oh, right. You went to take a picture of the guy because we have windows. And so we were trying to see where he went. Somebody said, do you know where he went? And I was just like, I wonder if he went that way. I'm going to get my phone and I'm going to go take a picture. And I did. I got a picture of the guy.
Wow.
I mean, the dye pack blew up and it was really satisfying.
Did he legitimately, he came in, did he do the old, this was a robbery? Don't hit I don't want to bring up any past.
No, I'm okay talking about it.
Yeah?
Yeah. I've got a ton of tools that I've worked through in the last 7 years.
You seem pretty secure about all this stuff, so.
Yeah. Like I said, I'm a success story. And so it's, no, he came in, he was yelling. And he's just like, everybody down on the ground right now.
That's insane.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it was weird. It was just, I say weird. It was traumatic. It was awful.
I bet.
There were all my colleagues that were there that day, and then they went through the same thing that I did. I can't even begin to think how they dealt with it too. I just happened to be filling in that day at that branch.
Oh, no.
Everything for a reason. So I was a lifeguard for 20 years.
Yeah.
Lots of emergency training every quarter. So we do training with our fellow guards every single quarter. So for 20 years, that's what I did. And you go through these situations that where it's an emergency situation. And I've had a few emergency situations in my life. Nothing quite like this. This was different in that I wasn't in control. But I went into automatic pilot where every time when he wasn't yelling at me, I was going, yep, no problem. I'm going to get you exactly what you want. So like we're talking to the victim, right? So the victim that you're treating when you're a lifeguard, you're constantly talking with them, right? If they're conscious, even when they're not conscious, I tend to talk to them anyway. Yeah. And so that's what I was doing as he was, between him yelling at me and getting what he wanted, which wasn't really what he wanted, but yeah, it was not fun. My first... When we did sit down, or I sat down after I took the picture, it was my first thought wasn't of my son. Actually, it was of my parents, and of they can't afford to lose another daughter. Wow. And that was the tough moment. That was just like I'm so glad that I'm here. And then, of course, it was my son, and just like, good God, what would he have done without his mom? Yeah. Kids grow up without their moms all the time, but that was kind of the thing. It's
different when it becomes you, right? Like, you could sit and look at someone's situation, but it doesn't really become real until you're looking at it.
Your mind is actually thinking of, I could not be here right now, or I could be severely injured, or I could be. I mean, there are all sorts of different situations.
What was the first thing that went through your head when he came barging in? Then, like, did you just go straight into autopilot like that?
Almost.
You just your instinctual training just kicked in. Like, okay, we gotta be calm. We gotta walk. We gotta make it through this.
One of my first thoughts, I don't know if it was my first thought, was is that a real gun?
For sure, and that's what probably one of my thoughts too was like, okay, what's the threat? Is the threat level real here? Is this guy just desperate looking for some money?
Yeah. Well, he was smart. He had done his homework because he had wrapped his, he had gloves on, and he had wrapped the jacket, and had wrapped his face in nylon.
Didn't do the pantyhose?
He didn't.
Oh, he did?
No, yeah, no. And it was cheap, purpley,
oh, God.
African-American women. Like, and I know the cheap pantyhose. This is cheap pantyhose. Which,
he didn't even splurge. He's going to rob a bank.
Yeah, that's right.
Splurge.
He didn't splurge on.
He obviously didn't think he was going to get away with it. Like, well, it's better cheap out on these guys. Just in case we don't get this money.
Frugal bank robber, right?
It's the biggest oxymoron I've ever heard.
I guess he really needed the money.
Yeah, no kidding. I can't spend a dime of this, guys. It's got to go straight to child support. Oh.
I think that was it looked heavy enough to be a real gun. I think that was back then. I think had I been a motorcycle racer, like had I had that decision-making ability back then, I probably would have made a decision much, much earlier about certain things. Like, yes, that's a real gun. I think it was a real gun, because I think he did know what he was doing. And the detective that we talked with afterwards said they basically typically have just gotten out of jail. They're looking for some quick cash, and then they take off out of town. I don't know if they've ever caught him. That was something that I struggled with. I had the detective's card for years. For years I had that afterwards. I mean, probably about 3 or 4 years. And finally I recycled it because I said, if I haven't called by now, I'm not going to call. And I'm obviously comfortable with not knowing, because that danger, I saw a wonderful psychologist who works with specifically with trauma. And I had already been working with her, ironically, after my sister died. So this was just, par for the course. Let's just keep on sailing here.
Doc, you got another hour. Let's go. Sign me up.
Oh, she was so amazing. We did a therapy called EMDR.
What's that?
So EMDR is eye movement, eye movement desensitization. I can't remember what R stands for, but recovery or something like that. And I should know that by now. And it's typically with you're following a dot in these certain patterns. And I don't know much about that EMDR. The EMDR that we did was because basically when you have an emotionally traumatic event, your brain self-lobotomizes in a way.
Yep.
That is the easiest way I can describe it. So EMDR, the way that she did it, where there were 2 hand pedals, they were about that big, about an inch long and flat. And so you held one in each hand. It looked like it was back from the 70s, which maybe it was, but they vibrated to a certain intensity, and they could vibrate right and left, slower or faster. So you choose what you're comfortable with. I found that for the really intense moments, I wanted them to be intense and fast. But in essence,
so it's just like a little pad on your hand, almost.
In each,
just like a little
each
electric
hand.
pad.
Yeah, and you just hold it gently, and it just, there are cables that go to her device so that she can adjust it. So it's kind of like
the electromagnetic shocks at the chiropractor.
Yeah, without the shock.
Without the shock. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so you have that vibration. It's actually quite comforting. And
there's something weird about vibrations, right? If you can get into one, it feels good.
I love that. I kind of wish they had like water, something like that. Wouldn't that be cool?
Well, have you ever floated before?
I did. Yeah.
I love floating.
Yeah, so, yeah. I think I would do that if I didn't have other things that I enjoy doing. But my sister loves it. She's a project manager in tech. So yeah.
Never have I gotten that solitary of like I've never been in that in touch with myself before. It's really crazy because it's just nothing. You're nothing.
And just great marketing, by the way. That's their tag.
Right? Yeah, like come be nothing. Yeah. So sorry, continue with this. So you had these,
the hand paddles. So you talk about your experience. So from wherever you want to start with, and you go through it. And usually, at least in my experience, I get upset at some point, and then she would guide me out of, through, because you'd guide me through it. So that I would talk about it on the other side. And it was easier, I think, with the holdup, because there was a process to that. There was a sequence of events that happened. And so it was easier to recognize that, because at the end of it, you give the paddles back, and she talks about, well, where are you feeling it now? And so you talk about where you're feeling it in your body. So I'm feeling it in my chest, or I'm feeling it nauseous in my stomach, or I'm feeling it in my throat. Usually was where I was feeling it. And she say, okay, well, now breathe into that space. Now you do that in yoga classes sometimes too, or meditation classes. It's such a great, great tool to, if you're feeling something, breathe, just sit with it. First of all, just sit with it. Okay.
Yeah, well, breathing, I've always been told breathing is the most effective way of living in the moment. It's just focusing on your breath,
motorcycle
right?
racing, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
It is, they're both. I used to coach swimming to elite swimmers and special needs at the same time.
Crazy
And
contrast.
they were just as challenging and just as rewarding because of their growth.
And I guess the specific demands, right?
And their presence. Yeah, their presence, I think, was, and so I think that's the thing with the EMDR, with breathing into that space, as well as the precision and mental presence that it takes motorcycle racing.
Yeah,
is the presence. You are literally in that moment of recognizing what is happening with your body and what's happening with your brain, and being present, acutely present to that moment. And I don't think there's a more gratifying feeling, at least, I mean, there are lots of gratifying feelings in the world and bodily sensations, but
nothing that comes out, nothing that we can think of off the top of our head right now.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So that's, I probably saw her for about a year and a half.
Yeah,
and I took time off. So my brothers went straight back to work. So did my dad. They worked through their grieving, and my mom sought out suicide support groups and went with my dad.
Everyone's got to cope different ways, right? That's the thing, and you got to accept how people cope. That's the shit thing. It's like some people deal with it in ways that you look at as negative, but they see as their way of getting out of it.
It's just their way.
Yeah.
There's no, again, judgy. What are you doing? Pointing the finger.
That's not the way I do it. It's like, it's wrong. It's
See
like,
what's going to work for you, and give them options. Coming back to that, what kind of options do we have? So what kind of options? Because I didn't want to go back on medication.
No, but it doesn't seem like you're a big.
Yeah, WorkSafe wanted me to go back to take medications. They were like, the exposure therapy isn't working, and exposure, I got to give the psychologist, because I was working with two psychologists at one point after the PTSD. They assigned me a psychologist and did some exposure therapy, which I do think has its merits to get me, because I went back and I work at the bank. I still work casual at the bank.
Good for you.
So it's
I also think you got a bit of a tough mindset here that not a lot of people carry around with, or few people have yet to develop. Like, you seem super secure. I know that you said you weren't, and I can relate to you. I know what it's like to be confident but still doubt yourself. But yeah, you just seem really aware of who you are and what you bring to the table. I don't know, it's refreshing to talk to someone like this.
I guess I know how to get to the next thing. It's that workability.
So
you've got to
work
think of
through
the next
it
thing
and accept the bullshit and move on if you have to.
And what kind of human I want to be. Yeah, I know what kind of human I want to be. I don't, the humble, nice Canadian with a little bit of spark, I think, is the kind of person that I want to be and I aspire to be. And
you seem able to just drop shit. You seem to be like, okay, this is not working. Like, let's get rid of this. This is a bad thing.
How is that serving you? Yeah, where did I hear that? How is that serving you?
But how many people hold on to shit, right? Like, oh, I'm still not this. Oh, I'm not as pretty as that person. Or oh, this isn't working for me. But oh, it's so good. People just hold on to the negative stuff because it's comfortable, or
Well, you get into that negative mindset. I used to be a complainer.
Oh,
so
I'm working on that.
It's tough. Do you know how
so easy to complain?
I was a bitch. I was a bitchy bitch. I was just I was back. This is probably university in my 20s. And I would complain about everything. Oh man, this isn't done, and I hated that. And, I wouldn't be, nice to the customer service person on the phone. Then I went to work for IBM in
I'm
customer
trying.
service.
I've consciously
a lot more
said, no,
respect.
I got to be nice to these people because that job would not be fun if you had to make calls all day or just receive the calls all day. I would want to kill somebody, but they always have a good smile on their, well, I don't know if they're smiling, but they seem really friendly on the phone. So I always try to make
I think millennials are trying harder. Yeah. I mean, the millennial generation, my generation didn't try as hard. There were certain times where they're still like, I don't have to take this, click, and just hang up. And, you know, now somebody could be fired for that and they wouldn't get, this is a job that they had to fight hard for.
Well, they're not allowed to hang up unless you're abusive. So sometimes I just screw with them and I'll just talk about my day, go through. Oh yeah, today, you know, I went to the mall and then like, do you want to sign up for this extra sports package on your cable? Well, hold on, let me just walk you through this and tell you why I don't want to sign up for it. But yeah, because some of them can't hang up. It's the best. I love screwing with those people. It's because you know that after that call, like after they get rid of their anger, they're like, well, I killed half an hour of my day, you know.
Yeah.
Gotta get a joke in there. So
I heard a story and connected with these. I love it when the alumni from York call me, and asking for money.
The boosters, yeah.
But they're so nice. They're so nice.
Well, that's how they rope you in, right?
Well, yeah, that's so true. I didn't even think about that until now. Of course, they're nice.
They got a honey dick,
yeah. Let's drop a little bit more sugar on that.
Can we count on you? Can we count on you? That's that York spirit. Be part of the team, Allie.
God, that's right.
Be part of York you.
And I have. I've totally fallen for that. I love how, I guess they find my story interesting, and I guess that's what keeps surprising me. And
which one? Which story? You are just a library of stories.
I have a story for everything. Yeah,
it is awesome.
It's just life. And because I look at other people's stories and and the suffering that people have had to go through, and like I'm not a woman in Afghanistan or a black woman growing up in America. And that doesn't, I'm not trying to be.
No,
that's just something that I look at and I think about being a woman in Afghanistan. Yeah, perspective, and I'm just like, good God, I could be a woman living in Afghanistan. It's what does Gary Vee say? 1 in 4.5 billion chances that you were born.
No, it's 700 trillion.
Oh, okay, 700.
Or 700 billion, I think he says. Yeah,
Where's the internet?
1 in 7 trillion is there's. How many sperm? Can we look that up? How many sperm are launched typically towards the egg?
400 million. No, I don't know.
I feel like he says trillion, but I could be completely wrong.
And there's one special egg, sometimes two.
Yeah, right. Like that, the birth process alone trips me up. Like the fact that what's the number?
20 to 100 million.
20
okay,
to 100
so
million,
yeah, still.
That's.
But then even to be the sperm that makes it, to not be the sperm that ended up on the lower back,
or elsewhere.
Cheeky.
Yeah. Well, no, but that's we're all grown-ups here. We all know where it can end up, and we don't. Women don't have that issue. Ours is just there, or it could be in some rag somewhere. So.
It's so easy to look at what you don't have or what's not in front of you instead of appreciating what you do have.
And the kind of choices that we do have living where we are. I remember being in Toronto, and I was working for IBM when 9/11 happened. And I was 30 and I was living in the big city and I was a corporate girl and loved it, and I could buy my own clothes and I paid for my own rent.
Woman.
That's right.
Hell yeah.
It felt great.
Yeah.
And then 9/11 happened, and here I was watching with all of my colleagues on the big TV in the breakout room, these planes blow up in these buildings, going, holy fuck, did that just happen?
Yeah.
Or is there a new Independence Day movie out? And it was real. And my brother lived in Brooklyn at the time with my sister-in-law and she was pregnant, I think, with my nephew, or he was just born. I think she was pregnant with him. And she had already gone. She was a nurse at Columbia University Hospital. She called my brother, who was late for work that day, and said, because Columbia Hospital is on Manhattan. She said, don't come into work today. Something's wrong.
Yeah.
She didn't know what it was. So I remember finally getting a hold of him because nobody could get a hold of him, and finally getting a hold of him on the phone. And he was in shock, at least slightly, and said, what's really trippy is watching tax papers go by my window right now. And those kind of moments, we don't recognize what traumatizes us and what women have this thing. Have you ever seen The Difference Between Men's and Women's Brains?
No.
It's by Mark Gergel. Go watch it. It's hilarious, but it's so descriptive of how women remember things and men. Women imprint it with emotion. So if we really feel something, it gets imprinted. This is why women can remember everything.
Yeah, well, women are
from like 7 years ago.
I will always say women are definitely the smarter gender for sure.
I wouldn't say smarter. It's just different.
Well,
it's
just way more in tune. Like the intuition of life from a woman's standpoint versus a man's is much different. Like,
but men are good at processing.
We all have different strengths and weaknesses, but there's nothing like the emotional connection from a woman to some sort of whatever she's connected to. The emotional connection is way stronger, I find, with women than men.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's relative to a lot of situations, but kids, for one, you're always going to, the mothers always typically have a stronger bond with the kid than
intuitive.
The
Yeah, intuitive.
That's stronger.
But then you get into personality types, and
it's all relative too. But yeah, women, like you said, women can imprint with emotion a lot easier, or they're imprinted.
Yeah,
so they connect with emotion a hell of a lot easier,
and remember things that are emotional like that. So that's I describe it as people ask me, how do you get out here? And I said, well, I hit 30 and 9/11 happened, and I decided to move out west. There's always been a dream. It's just like, that was the first moment I think of, life is too short. Life is too short to spend on the cranky bitchy bullshit being a bitch. Life is too short to wait for my dreams. Life is too short to stop myself from doing anything, because here we are, and I was born in, and I didn't really get, I was born into, I'm a white, blonde, all-American cheerleader looking chick. So I get it. And I was born into this. And sure, there are certain choices, like I choose to wear makeup and I choose to do my hair, and I like to dress nicely. Because I look like crap when I take my helmet off and I've got sweaty, greasy hair and my what little tiny mascara is smeared beneath my eyeballs. So that, I choose to do both and love both. But there's all of these moments from that moment, and probably other moments previous to that and other moments onward. And there'll be more traumatic moments in my life. My parents dying scares the crap out of me right now.
Yep. No, it scares me. And, my mom shouldn't be going anywhere anytime soon.
Right.
But
yeah.
I know the day that it's going to happen, I'm like, I don't know how the hell I'm going to take that next step. It's going to be a tough one to get over, but you're going to have to.
Because everybody dies. That's
nobody's beat time. That's my.
We're all gonna die.
Yeah.
There was a lady on the Toronto subway one time, and she was ranting and raving. No, it wasn't a lady. That was the crazy Jamaican lady. All you Torontonians still recognize the crazy Jamaican lady on the subway. But this was a guy, and he was going back and forth on the subway car, going, "We're all gonna die. We're all gonna die. We're all gonna die." And I looked up at him because I had my headphones on, and he kind of scared me a little bit. And I said, yeah, we're all going to die. Because that was we are all going to die. Death and taxes. Taxes aren't even a sure thing.
Hey, all I got to do is move to the native reserve, and I don't pay my taxes anymore. So, yeah.
It's all, this is life. What are you going to do with it? If you have these choices, make them. Why wait? Yeah. Why I can't
wait.
What are you waiting
for, right? Like that's what I always say.
Yeah.
Like, why are you waiting? It's like, what's the point? What are you waiting? Are you waiting for someone to come do this for you? No, people all got their own shit. People got their own plates full of shit.
Always. There's always something going on.
Yeah.
And the emotional energy that you put into everything that sometimes you have a shit day.
Right. Sometimes you're not going to be the person you want to be.
Yeah.
But you always you can change it right now.
What do you think of gratitude? How does that fit into your?
So I'm learning that if you are gonna give praise, you also have to discipline. Like you can't have one or the other. It's yin and yang, right? So
wow, nice. I love that.
Yeah, you can't. If you're gonna be an asshole, then you have to learn to love as well. If you're gonna love, you have to learn to. You're gonna be an asshole sometimes. You can't have your cake and eat it too. But when I was over in Thailand this last couple of weeks, we visited a Buddhist temple. And I always said if I was to be a religious person, I would pick Buddhism. Because it's all about being in touch with yourself rather than, praising the Lord above. It's like, okay, if the Lord above wants me to succeed, why do I have to say his name? Why do I have to bring him up?
Or read one book?
Yeah, it doesn't make sense to me. And Why is the devil a bad guy if he's punishing the bad people? That makes him a good guy, doesn't it? So I don't know. I got questions about religion. So Buddhism really resonates with me because it has nothing of the glamour. There's no glamour to it, right? It's very, they can't even hunt meat. If they want to eat meat, it has to be donated to them. They don't have jobs. They can't be in a room alone with a woman. They can't touch a woman. There's some shit that I don't agree with, like with that, and that you can't have alcohol. And I don't even drink. I just don't see the point of keeping something off the table. But when we're in this Buddhist temple, I still wear the damn thing. It's still on me. We got blessed by this Buddhist monk, and one of the guys in the tour group that my buddy got us to tag along with, he was an ex-monk, and he was telling us, like, the Buddhist monks will never say, they'll never praise anybody, but you will never hear them scold anybody either because of that. Because they know that if I to give you praise, then I have to tell you a bad thing as well. And so why even bring, if the good energy is going to provide a negative force, don't bring the good into this world.
Interesting.
So they'll just keep it within themselves. And that to me is something I'm trying to adapt right now and learn, but it's so fucking hard because you want to say thank you to people, but then, if you have the understanding, okay, if I say thank you now, then I have to say you did this wrong in the future rather than just letting it be. And it's like that's tough.
I don't know if I can agree with that because there are times when, well, I mean, and I just say that because I accept people and their beliefs for who they are. I still have a
and I'm still working through it, right? I'm never happy with my philosophies in life. I'm always trying to improve upon them. And
well, they're going to be yours.
Exactly.
You're one in 7.5 billion people in place. It's going to be the Marcus religion.
For sure, right?
I love I guess where I was going with that was seeing somebody who's in pain and wanting to give them some positive energy or at least some presence so that they can be present to what's going on for them.
I think that's the key, is just being present. You don't have to do anything, just be there.
That's their message.
Yeah, it's just being present. The whole idea of Buddhism is to just be present in the moment, because we live our lives 5 minutes in the future and 5 minutes in the past, or however far. And to approach nirvana and this ultimate peace is to literally just sit there and breathe, because that's all you can do. That's all you can be. You can't be anything other than yourself. So it's like, okay, how do you get into the moment? They just meditate 14 hours a day is what a Buddhist monk will do. So they wake up, they have breakfast, they do some prayers, and then they have their second meal, and then they just meditate.
Wow.
It's insane. And I met one guy who did, I didn't meet him. My friend is a friend of a friend, and he did a 2-week silent treatment with Buddhist monks. He went and lived with the Buddhist monks. So he gave up all his possessions. They shave your hair. They shave all your body hair. And he didn't speak for 2 weeks, which I was almost tempted to do when I was in Thailand, to just check into a temple and go become a monk for a couple weeks. I love to talk too much, so it's never going to happen. But
I wouldn't be able to give up my hair.
Yeah, it blew me away. I don't think women can become Buddhist monks.
Oh, yeah, you're probably right.
Yeah, I don't know.
And that's the problem I have with the Catholic religion too. But
yeah, that's a stupid rule. It's like, okay, maybe back in the day there was some sort of belief system that prevented this from happening, but it's 2018. If we're gonna have 40 plus genders on the table, why the hell can't we have female
How do you
monks?
identify, right?
Yeah,
it is a fascinating process. It was one of those things that I really hated about Catholicism, and I don't know. Yeah, I guess there's just this whole gamut of people, of shades and flavors and whatever on the table. That why is that? I guess that's why I was looking into Buddhism back in my late 20s and kind of shifted to Taoism because
Similar,
of the
right?
I was just like, I just can't justify because I'm a woman and they're excluding me from things, and I don't get it. I want religion to be inclusive, so Taoism is more of a way of life and a practice, which I really loved.
And that's how I look at religion. It's like, I'm not here to please some guy so he'll let me into the club. Like, I don't need to tip the bouncer up top there so he's gonna let me into this heavenly place.
Yeah,
it's like, right, why can't I just live my
Please
life?
Let me send you some thoughts and prayers.
My favorite is when I was a kid, I would pray whenever I wanted something. All right, God, listen up. It's Marcus coming to you live here, bud. I know I don't believe in you that often, and I know I don't pray that often, but if you make this happen, I swear to God, I'm going to clean my room.
You forever.
Yeah, I'm going to clean my room and pray every day for the rest of my life.
Did any of it ever happen?
Never came true. Never came. It's like, yeah, can you make sure I get a dog on Christmas Day tomorrow? I just want to wake up to the dog inside.
With a bow on it.
Yeah, no, it never worked. But
I love that visualization though. I mean, I kind of wonder if we were on to some things back in those days where we were honestly just trying to understand human behavior at that point and the universe. And, you know, here we are, we do all of these things like visualization in order for Olympic athletes, for example. You know, I mean, even my races, I do visualization of the perfect race.
Hockey, I would sit on the bench before the games and try to watch shit happen before my eyes. Yeah.
Oh, it's so awesome. And to be able to visualize your perfect life or your perfect day, there's so much purpose to that, because then you can visualize yourself not being perfect, but doing those things well. And I think we criticize ourselves so many times where we're just like, oh my God, I'm so scared of starting this, terrified of starting this business. I mean, I could do this, or this might fuck up. And if we visualize doing it well and we practice that, there's the Taoism, there's the practice, or you know, the yoga practice, that kind of thing. It's practicing those positive thoughts. So where I used to be this really negative bitch, here I practice these. It took a long time to shift to catching myself, because it wasn't me being a bitch so much to everybody else. You know, that was a pretty quick shift. Okay, be nice to other human beings. And I mean, I generally was. I really was. It was when something didn't go my way, and when I want something, and my parents would say the same thing: when you want something, you really go after it. So learning to catch myself when I'm talking about myself, because I would say, oh, that was so stupid. Used to be, oh, I'm so stupid.
Oh, really?
Oh God, yeah.
Well, I'm learning, like, because I talk really negative to myself in order to improve, because I always say, okay, if I can point out the shit, then I know where to go.
Yeah.
But I'm learning that when I talk to myself like that, that's how I approach other people, and that's why I have such disconnect with my tone and my body language, because I don't realize that I'm bringing my style of growth into my communication. And so it's like, yeah, like, so
it's
like
in your brain.
Yeah, well, if you look at shit negative and then you bring that into the real world, then you're gonna have a negative outlook on stuff. So I'm in the same boat. I'm trying to change the way I talk to myself in a way.
And in each situation too, not just about yourself. This is where my shifting, I would say the practice of shifting with myself came externally, in that if something happened that didn't go the way I expected it to, or went badly, instead of, I'd be like, this fucking sucks. I'm never going to do that again, or I'm never going to, you know, I'm never going to buy that again. Now, there's some things when it comes to purchases where, nope, you know, but again, 3-strike rule generally. But then it was just like, okay, well, that didn't quite go right, but I'm going to see how it works this time if I change this thing. So you don't want to make the same mistake twice, but most situations, there are a whole bunch of different factors and components. So if you shift that one thing, or those 5 things, or whatever it is, then maybe it'll work. And if it does work, what is that going to look like? So then taking that practice of externally being positive, or shifting positive, to the internal voice, because we're our own worst critic. That sucked. You know, God, that was really shitty. God, I just got out of that podcast and made a total fucking fool out of myself.
Oh, that's not how you feel.
I feel all right. You know, a little embarrassed, but you know, I would immediately shift it to, I had a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And it was a blast to be here and share these stories. And, you know, if one person that watches or listens to podcasts gets something out of it, from you or from me, or just, you know, gets a laugh, awesome. That was fantastic.
Well, that's why we do it. That's why we did the show. Is just, I think everyone's got a really cool story to tell. Obviously, you have a plethora hidden up in those sleeves of yours. But I think, there's like you say, 7,047,867,000 people on the planet, something along those lines. And it's like, someone can find this. Someone's going to stumble upon this, whether it's today or 10 years from now, and they'll gain something from it. One person. I guarantee one person. I would put money that one person will listen to this within the next decade and be like, oh, fuck yeah, I learned something.
There's going to be a lot more than that.
Right? I'm sure, but if we can get one out of the 7 billion, fuck it. I feel like a winner.
Well, I think that's something that I'm trying to shift right now, is to shift away from this money chase to, if I can contribute,
Yeah,
Like,
if
there's
I can change
no-
someone or put them on a better path, or teach them something, or expose them to somebody with like great stories and great outlook on life, it's like, hell yeah.
There's no greater feeling for me. Like when we talk about feelings, and I think that applies to both men and women. It doesn't matter who you are, at least if you are on the right path. I shouldn't even say right, but
Yeah,
here I am shitting on myself. Don't shit on yourself. It's not.
That's me. I'm corrupting you. I'm corrupting you, Allie.
But I think that was something that I really realized when I was trying to get clear about what I wanted to do. I wanted to go off and start my own business. A new business, coaching, and I've been business coaching for the last 3 years and loving that. It's just been so satisfying. The team that I was working with, just amazing human beings, and I loved them and was present to who they are as people, despite being so different. But what was it that if I'm going to go off on my own with their full support and do it, who am I going to connect with, and why am I doing it? Is it for money? Yeah, of course it's for money, because I got to live, and I've got this 13-year-old that eats everything. Yeah. And so how am I going to
hollow leg syndrome? Is that what he's got?
2 of them. Yeah. It's crazy. I go to Costco now. There are only 2 of us, and I go to Costco, and the fridge will be full. Bang.
I love that.
So if I can connect with people and they take something, and I get this from coaching on the track too.
Oh, I'm sure.
If they take something and they run with it. I had this girl, she was, I think 24. She just started riding. She was riding a 250. So, lower CC bike. Right. And I coached her 1 year, for a day and taught her a few things. She came back the next year on a 600 and was whooping the guys' asses out there. And I was just like, I try to be calm, cool about it, but
stoic, right?
I was going to my other instructors. I'm like, that's the girl I coach. That's She's just rocking it. It's awesome.
My student.
So that's the same thing that I get from my students in my aquafit classes. It's just like they do something or they accomplish a goal. It's just like,
hell yeah.
I love that. And then
that is super awesome.
It's filling your bucket.
I think we're going to wrap this up.
I know,
How long did we go for? We went for a couple, at least 2. At least 2, right? Yeah. No, this is super awesome. I was just dialed in the whole time.
Me too.
This has been super
Very
fun.
grateful.
We're going to definitely have to have you back on, because you have way too many stories to not bring you back on for.
It'll be fun.
So floor is all yours. Plug the Instagram, plug a website or whatever you got going on.
I guess I'm superhero_racing on Instagram.
Cool.
And Allie Smith Racing on Facebook. There's some videos of me racing there.
There we are. That's super awesome.
Stay present, y'all.
Yeah, Allie Smith, everybody. Thank you so much.